Do all of the Hoenn Gym Leaders really deserve their spots? Or could the first Gym Leader, Roxnne, overcome all of the others, taking the coveted 8th Gym Leader position? To find out, I played through Pokémon Emerald 8 different times, once as each Gym Leader, to see if they can make it back to their gyms, and more importantly, beyond. The rules are as follows. I start the game with the Gym Leader's Pokémon in their base forms, allowing them to evolve as long as I match that leader's team when I get to their gym. I will allow healing and held items, but only what the leader I'm currently facing has. My ace will match the current leader's ace, but my other Pokemon's levels will scale based on the size of our respective teams. I'm playing on set mode, and each gym leader has a maximum of 5 attempts per battle. If Roxnne can't beat Brawly in 5 tries, she fails the challenge. Before we begin this very long journey, be sure to like, subscribe, and let me know who you think is the strongest Hoenn Gym Leader. First up is Roxnne and her rocks. Now, they're not the most versatile, true, but I still have a feeling they're going to do decently well. In order to earn my place as the first gym leader, I need to defeat all 3 trainers in the Rustboro City gym, starting with Josh. Now, my Nose Pass, who is the wrong gender, I fix that in a bit, has better defense than Geodude, but his best move is the resisted rock throw. So, defeating Josh's single rock takes a bit longer than I would like. Tommy suffers the same fate, but I've gotten tired of doing small slivers of damage, opting to struggle instead. Mark, with a C, is also defeated, showing that Roxnne can indeed become the first gym leader quite easily. But what about the second? There's a bit of a difficulty spike here, since Brawly's fighting types have a major advantage. Uno manages a single magnitude, even a crit, before getting karate chopped. Nose Pass's tackle is quite pathetic, Brawly heals, and the nose falls in 2 hits. This means it's all up to Geodude, and it doesn't go well. The bulked up Machop is simply too strong and buffed. Oh well, I didn't expect to win anyway. I still have a few more tries though. On attempt 2, Uno is still knocked out, while Geodude gets a magnitude 10, defeating the first fighter. Now Tate is not a concern in the slightest, since its only attacking move is Focus Punch, and I can easily avoid that. I do get the chance to heal with a Super Potion, while Brawly does the same. A few more magnitudes, and it's a goner. Of course, Brawly still has his ace, Makuhita. Geodude gets 2 relatively weak magnitudes, a 6 and a 5. With a bit better luck, he could have won there, but it wasn't meant to be. Instead, Nose Pass was meant to get Vital Thrown after some bulk ups. On attempt 3, I start with a single defense curl, in the off chance it's helpful. Uno then proceeds to crit Machop right away. Hey, that's a perfect start. Unfortunately, Tate reflects to lower all physical damage. I really need to make sure the reflect is gone before Makuhita comes out, so I stall with Tackle. I do misclick a defense curl at one point, which was a pretty big mistake, honestly, but the rock stays alive. With that misclick, and the other defense curl I purposefully used while Brawly healed, Uno is at +3 defense when Makuhita makes his return. I used the first of the super potions to not die, magnitude a couple of times, and need my last heal. Brawly is also out of heals here though. Not that it matters, as one final magnitude crits the Sumo, earning Roxnne the 2nd badge, after only 2 losses. I was expecting to be stuck here quite a bit longer, if I'm being honest, so I'm psyched I get to move forward. And the next several gyms should all be quite simple. Also, Uno deserves a better name for that victory. Instead, she can be Geo1. I think it works better. In stark contrast to the previous gym leader, I have no concerns whatsoever against Wattson. Voltorb sees the writing written in the dirt, choosing to go out on its own terms. I can respect that. Electrike does nothing of import, but Magneton hits a sonic boom before succumbing to magnitude. Geo1 heals with a berry as Manectric comes out. This guy is a stalling king. I get several weak magnitudes, Wattson heals a few times too, and I'm getting so close to just blowing up and ending this whole charade. Geo1's cooler head prevails however, she's basically all head, and with some patience, magnitude does its thing. I told you it was easy. On my way to battle Flnnery, Geo1 tries to evolve, but I delay that for a single level so she can learn Rollout first. By the way, all of my Pokemon are girls now, as they should have been from the very start. Sorry about that slip up. Geodude evolves at the normal level because I don't need 2 rollouts right now. One of them should be enough. Now Numel doesn't see a guaranteed KO with anything, giving one the chance to defense curl and begin a rollout. Numel is rolled on twice as it ramps up in power, Slugma once, and Camerupt once, though it outspeeds to Sunny Day. Not even Torkoal stands a chance with the fully powered move. One is doing really well. Not only is that her nickname, it's also her place in my heart, at least for now. And if you want a special place in my heart, that position has already been filled. But I'm taking applications. If you subscribe to the channel and consider becoming a YouTube or Patreon member, that wouldn't hurt your chances. For now, I'm smitten with Geo1, the incredible 4-armed rock ball. This brings us to Norman's normal types. Spinda survives a magnitude 9, which is almost as strong as it can get. If that's the way you want to play it, then fine. Geo1 will just roll out instead. It worked so well last time. She is confused, but still rolls Spinda, immediately missing slacking and getting yawned. Well, that's not great. Rather than let her fall asleep, she just self-destructs, because why not? I still have 2 other Pokemon. Geodude knows Dig, meaning this giant sloth will be easy. Unless Norman plays it smart with a counter, which, admittedly, I should have seen coming. Okay, our chances of victory just got much less likely. I do still have a giant nose though, who starts with a Thunder Wave. Between Rock Slide, to help flinch slacking, and Sandstorm Chip, he's defeated before too long. Norman didn't even heal, not sure why. Vigoroth is also paralyzed, and Rock Slid. Between those two, he only has a 50% chance to attack each turn. Sandstorm also does some chip. Norman uses his first Hyper Potion, as do I a short time later. After some time, Vigoroth is defeated and we're down to just Linoone. As expected, it belly drums, but is unable to use that maxed out attack before getting paralyzed. Not gonna lie here, when both my Geodes fell, I assumed I would have to retry this battle. But Nosepass did an incredible job, stalling and staying alive. I'm glad she could get some showtime again. Now, Winona may only have flying types, but aside from her Swablu, all of her Pokemon have a super effective move that poses major problems. The best way to deal with the first one is, you guessed it, a defense curl followed by rollout. This baits out a solar beaming Tropius, but with the now powered rollout, she never gets to use it. Pelipper is still an issue, what with her watery guns. A single drop of water, and Geo1 is a goner. Unlike the rock grounds, Nosepass is only mostly weak to water. This means Winona does not see a KO, while Nosepass has Thunderbolt. She still Thunder Waves on a heal, Rock Sliding in the off chance it flinches. Which it does, so she beats the water bird without ever getting hit. Altaria has Earthquake, but she's not the greatest physical attacker. She does try to remedy that with Dragon Dance, but thanks to another paralysis, Nosepass easily takes her out too with a Rock Slide flinch. This brings us to Skarmory and her super effective Steel Wing. First, it's a Thunder Wave, followed by a Bolt as Nosepass is defeated. Geodude also has a secret move here, Flamethrower. No idea why a boulder can breathe flames, but I'm glad she can. Several unexpected fire breaths later, Winona is beaten first try. Roxnne had a rough start, but she's really rocking it now. Pun totally intended. At which point, both Geo1 and Geodude evolve into their full boulder forms. Too bad Probopass isn't a thing in Gen 3. I could really use a steel type. Either way, I have a solid plan for this double battle, but we'll see how it goes. Geo1 is 1 level higher than Geodude to make sure that she outspeeds with a defense curl, while Geodude clears the rest of the field with an explosion. That worked out even better than I expected. With Solar Beam, Solrock is by far the biggest concern, so Geo1 starts to roll on it, as Nosepass paralyzes it. It does absorb some sunlight, but never releases it. I use a heal on Geo1, who keeps the rollout going, defeating Lunatone 2. Well, Roxnne hasn't lost a battle since Gym 2. This is incredible. And, as frequently happens in life, just when you're at your highest point, you get kicked back down. because the next and final leader is none other than Juan with his stupid water types. I have a semblance of a plan, but we'll see how it goes. Geodude withstands Lovedisk's water pulse, earthquaking the fish. She rock throws Celio, which is not strong enough, and that's as far as she gets. Geo1 then starts a rollout. Naturally, she misses Crawdaunt, getting crab hammered into the grave. Okay, all up to Nosepass now. Her Thunderbolt isn't bad, but she's too slow and also falls to Crawdaunt. Not all that surprising. For the next attempt, I mix things up a bit. Now Geodude has Rock Blast, which doesn't miss Celio, thankfully, and it's knocked right out. She outspeeds Crawdaunt, surprisingly, blowing them both up. Well, we might actually be able to make it now. Nosepass Thunderwaves Kingdra, swapping into Geo1, who was promptly Water Pulsed. That wasn't supposed to happen, but it was worth a try. Nosepass chips away at Kingdra's health with Sandstorm, Rock Slide, and the occasional Thunderbolt, but it really isn't doing much. And all of that was for naught, as Kingdra proves too strong. On attempt 3, Geodude misses the crucial Rock Blast, which results in complete failure. I can't even get past Celio that time. The same thing happens next time too. Though, thanks in part to a new Sunny Day strategy, Nosepass actually does a good job defeating Crawdaunt before Kingdra does its thing. I still haven't even seen the Whiscash yet either. On the final attempt, a Sunny Day Paralysis puts Kingdra in quite a precarious spot. I swap into Geo1, who takes an Ice Beam, but survives it. And now she gets to outspeed. I'm hoping to keep her alive for Whiscash, so let's try a Quadruple Edge, which is barely too weak, and Geodude dies. Nosepass follows shortly after, so I lose for the 5th and final time. Roxnne simply cannot defeat Juan in any consistent way with this team. Still, considering that she started as the first gym leader and earned the 7th spot, that's still quite an improvement. Now we move on to the second gym leader, Brawly. His team seems pretty solid, honestly. I just wish Meditite would evolve a bit earlier. He will likely be dead weight until then. This shouldn't matter for Roxnne though, as we've already seen this battle from the other perspective. I start with Makuhita to focus energy. This is a solid move when you have multi-hit attacks. Geo1 survives those arm thrusts, meaning a vital throw is necessary. Geodude is crit, thanks to focus energy. Nosepass has better defense than the first 2 rocks, but between a 3-hit arm thrust and another throw, Roxnne is easily defeated. Not all that surprising. I did hate on Meditite a little bit already, but he does know Confusion, which should be useful in getting Brawly back to his second gym leader spot, once I can actually find the trainers. The first, Laura, also has Meditite, so I try to be clever with Bide, taking Confusions, but the jerk just detects it. Well, that was a waste. I still end up beating her, thanks to a bit of luck. The rest of the fighting Mons succumb to Confusion as expected. Even the double battle proves to be simple. The final trainer is Jocelyn, who has another Meditite. But this time, her Meditite uses Bide, while I detect, avoiding all that damage. It's nice when things come full circle. Anyway, I beat her too, because, obviously, becoming the second gym leader. Before trying for number 3, I get Rock Smash and teach it to Meditite. It's not a great move by any means, but it's the only damaging fighting move he has access to. Oh yeah, and Makuhita evolves into an even fatter humanoid. He starts off against Wattson, hitting a fake out, and shrugging off Voltorb's self-destruct. This guy does have a crazy amount of HP. Electrike survives just long enough to howl before getting thrown. The same with Magneton, though it Thunder Waves first. For the next several turns, Hariyama tries to defeat Manectric with Vital Throw, and does plenty of damage, but between full paralysis and healing, the electric dog just doesn't want to fall. Let's swap to Meditite as a sacrifice, giving me a chance to heal Hariyama. He's still fully paralyzed, but right when I'm about to swap again, he hits through it, defeating Wattson and getting a very minor promotion. He's not content to just stay here, however, so let's head to the Fire Gym next. Machop is pre-burned to taunt those Fire Mons, and, to a lesser extent, activating Guts. He easily revenges her Numel, but is overheated by Slugma. Okay, let's bring out my super fat Hariyama, who resists fire. A Focus Energy Arm Thrust combo defeats the Slug, and thankfully he is not poisoned. Camerupt doesn't see a KO with Overheat, choosing instead to double tackle, which was quite pathetic compared to my double Vital Throw. Only problem is, he immediately falls in love with the turtle. Okay, I swap to Tate to cure Attraction, Detect to stall Overheat a bit, but then he's a goner. So it's all up to Fattyama again. After a fake out, Focus Energy, he is immediately paralyzed. That's not great, nor is the second Attraction. Things are not looking good here. He hits through all of that to crit Vital Throw, prompting a heal by both of us. It takes several more turns, but with a bit of luck and 2 more crit Vital Throws, I am the victor yet again. I was sure we were a goner that time, at which point Machop evolves, but Tate still needs to wait a while. Nevertheless, I start with him against Not Dad, because Psybeam would not be super effective. 2 Rock Smashes, including 1 crit, defeat Spinda. He detects Vigoroth, swapping into Machoke on a failed Encore. A simple revenge knocks it out thanks to Guts. Lanoon is also revenged, but Machoke will not get a chance to low kick Slacking. That's too bad. For the next several turns, Tate alternates between Detect and Rock Smash, lowering Slacking's defense. I didn't plan on him surviving this, and he clearly doesn't. But he did more than enough for Hariyama to finish the other fat Pokemon. Though Slacking only weighs like half of a Hariyama, which is surprisingly light for a 6'7" giant sloth. But that's enough anti-fat shaming. Let's start with what may very well be the toughest battle yet. Winona and her Flyers. Hariyama begins with Fake Out, of course, before getting shredded with Bulk Up. Now Swablu could use a Perish Song to ruin my day, but thankfully she chooses not to. After 4 Bulk Ups, I think we're good to go. A return knocks out Swablu, while Skarmory is Vital Thrown after a pretty bad Aerial Ace. Tropius is returned, as is Pelipper following some Protect stalls. Altaria also tries to get buff, but a single Dragon Dance means nothing to the now buff Yama. Without Bulk Up, things would have been so much tougher. I'm glad it worked out. Before starting the real toughest Brawly battle, because Winona apparently didn't qualify, Machoke evolves. And finally, so does Tate. Maybe I can use him as more than just a sacrifice now, but not just yet. First, Hariyama fake outs Claydol to prevent him from attacking. I'm banking on Xatu Calm Minding, which he does, and he gets Facade smacked to the grave. Claydol can now Earthquake, while Lunatone also tries to Calm Mind, getting low kicked as well. I heal Machamp, who is double Psychicked and just dies. That was unfortunate. Medicham and Hariyama almost defeat Solrock, but it barely hangs on. The good news is, I have 4 heals in this battle. The bad news is, so too do the twins. They manage to defeat Solrock as I use my last 2 heals against Claydol. Hariyama quickly falls, and as close as Medicham gets to winning, the twins still have 3 freaking heals. So evolved or not, he never really stood a chance. That just sucks, because this was Brawly's very first loss. And his second too, as this attempt goes even more poorly. I don't even get past Solrock. On the 3rd attempt, Claydol is quickly paralyzed by Secret Power, causing it to be a non-issue. Solrock then quickly follows suit, and dang, that was a tough battle. I still had a few tries left though, so not quite nerve-wracking. The final gym leader is Juan, the water guy. Machamp starts off getting confused, hitting through it to Facade Love Disc. I swap to Hariyama to cure confusion. A fake out Vital combo is a tad too weak to defeat Whiscash, prompting a Bulk Up, or 2, since Vital Throw is still not a one-shot. Hariyama is crit, needs a heal, before ultimately defeating the fish. Kingdra also survives the not-so-strong Vital Throw, rests, wakes up, rests, and doesn't wake up. Celio is one-shot, as I use my final heal against Crawdont. It ended up being unnecessary though, with 1 final Vital Throw. And with that, Brawly, with only 3 Pokemon, has surpassed every other gym leader, most of which weren't that tough, to be honest. Obviously, we're not done yet, as I still have the Elite Four to challenge. Being Dark-type, Sydney should not be an issue. Mightyena's Intimidate isn't great, but with a fake-out Vital Throw combo, it all works out. Especially when Shiftry uses a pointless double team and boosts my attack back up with Swagger. Thank you, kind sir. Absol is quickly demolished, though Hariyama hits himself a single time as Cacturne misses Cotton Spore. Not a useful move anyway. Another Crawdon is one shot just like the last one, and that was really easy. Phoebe will be a bit more challenging, but nothing major, I hope. Medicham has learned Shadow Ball, which is physical in Gen 3, so it benefits quite a bit from his increased attack from pure power. Of course, that doesn't mean much when Dusclops stalls with protects and heals. At least she doesn't do anything to Medicham. Bayonet survives the hit, barely, to Will-O-Wisp. Well, there goes my double attack. It's knocked out with a Thunder Punch, as I'm trying to save the remaining Shadow Ball PP. I swap into Hariyama against Sableye. Unfortunately, his strongest fighting moves don't really hit ghosts, so let's just dig. A bulk up dig does around half of its HP, but I really don't want it to get healed, so a follow-up bulk up dig knocks it out. Glad I didn't miss anything there. Bayonet also takes a dig, but when it's clear Hariyama can go no farther, I full restore Medicham to remove the burns. With him back in action, Phoebe's last two Pokemon are Shadow Balled, just like that. Now Glacia is perhaps the easiest battle Brawly has ever had. Medicham shows off his attacking skills, brick-breaking all of her Pokemon. The only one who could have stopped this sweep was Walrein, who misses Sheer Cold. So yeah, that was simple. With Drake's many flying types, he poses a much bigger threat. First, his non-flyer Shelgon is low-kicked in one shot once it stops protecting. After hitting a Facade and getting Aerial Aced, I swap to Medicham to double Ice Punch Altaria, who double Dragon Dances. I'm not sure why the first wasn't enough. Kingdra also chooses to double Dragon Dance, doing nothing of import. Why are you being so easy here, Drake? Flygon actually does attack, but it's not nearly enough, and Medicham Ice Punches him too, as well as Salamence after getting Dragon Clawed. I swap to Hariyama to return a few times and heal Medicham. 2 Dragon Claws and Ice Punches later, Drake is defeated first try. That was way easier than I expected. Just like Wallace didn't expect a low kick to one-shot his giant whale. He may be less dense than air, but he's still a heavy guy. Whiscash survives the first few Facades, uses a heal, but never attacks. Machamp somehow survives Tentacruel's Hydro Pump, just barely, and knocks it out too, then Machamp succumbs to burn damage. Ludicolo is known for double teaming, which isn't a big deal with the accuracy bypass of Vital Throw. But I could have done without the Leech Seed, you know? To remove it, and Intimidate, Medicham comes on out. Again, there's another double Dragon Dance, and it looks like Medicham might be able to do it with Thunder Punch, till he's Hyper Beamed in the face. That was a bit overkill. Well, it's all up to Hariyama now. At least he gets a free turn to return Gyarados, making this a 1v1 battle. His gorgeous Water Snake against this fat tub of lard. I have plenty of heals left, so this might work out in my favor. The first Vital Throw does less than half, so to avoid a heal, I need to bulk up. I heal again here, by the way, this time to cure Toxic. Milotic Toxics again, which proves to be his downfall, as Hariyama makes Brawly with his 3 little Pokemon, the brand new Hoenn Champion. Even though he's achieved his lifelong dream, there is still a Steven Stone hanging around in a cave, and I can't stand for that. Machamp double low kicks Skarmory pretty well, getting spiked and aerial aced. Armaldo is outsped, but hangs on. Machamp does not. I take a turn to Calm Mind Medicham before brick breaking the bug. That boosted Fire Punch still does less than half to Metagross, who doesn't take too kindly to the fire. Alright Hariyama, you did it last battle, take me to victory again. Of course, with Metagross's Psychic, it doesn't quite work out. Dang it. It's been a while since he lost too. Well, there goes being nice. Now it's time to actually win. This time, I begin with Hariyama, who bulk ups 4 times. Skarmory does Toxic a bit, but with full restores, it's not a big deal. Even with +4 attack, Vital Throw is still too weak, but a Surf Throw combo defeats the bird. I then take the chance to heal on Armaldo, who does fall to a single throw. Now, Metagross's Psychic barely leaves him alive, and his throw does the same. Dang it, not even +4 was enough? He clearly doesn't make it out alive, but Medicham outspeeds to finish it off. Both Cradily and Aggron are brick-breaked. Last we have Claydol. Medicham Calm Minds a few times, but I need to use my final heal here. I hope he makes it. At one point, Medicham brick breaks a light screen, but following a heal by Steven, he has this victory in the bag. 2 final punches defeats the hardest trainer in the region as Brawly. With only 3 Pokemon, he made it to the end, which was better than I expected from him, to be honest. Now we become Wattson, who is arguably one of the tougher Hoenn Gym Leaders with a solid team of 4 Pokemon, as long as you don't pick Mudkip or have any other ground type. Speaking of, Roxnne has 2, so this is going to be a rough start. I begin with Voltorb to Screech Geo1 2 times, getting her to -4 defense. After being crushed with rocks, I send out my ace, Electrike, who has 0 PP in all of his moves, prompting a struggle. It's not a powerful move by any means, but unlike Tackle, it isn't resisted by rock types. Several struggles later, including a heal, the first rock is knocked out, to be replaced with an identical one, but without the defense drop. Struggle does quite a bit less now, of course, but he still gets the rock down decently low before knocking himself out. This brings out the second lower level Electrike to also struggle. He doesn't last nearly as long. Okay, it's all up to Magnemite now. It starts with Supersonic, followed by Tackle, which was absolutely pathetic. It heals with a berry, and Geodude snaps out of confusion. Since Tackle is doing so little, I, like a fool, try to confuse it again, but fail 5 freaking times in a row. I know it has bad accuracy, but that's ridiculous. Eventually, I just give up and return to Tackle. Right before the rock falls, I need to heal. 1 more Tackle and it's gone. Of course, Roxnne still has a nose pass. Fortunately, this rock is not properly grounded. As such, 3 metal sounds, or 4 since one of them missed, should be sufficient. Now Thundershock is a 2-hit KO even with that Oran Berry. So yeah, against all odds, and surprising even me, Wattson gets the first gym badge without losing once. Thank you, Struggle, even if that's not a strategy real gym leaders would use. With that badge in hand, it should be smooth sailing for a while. My plan for Brawly is much more basic. I'm hoping Voltorb can utilize its speed and new move, Sonic Boom, to defeat Machop, but it can't since Brawly heals. Lame. Magnemite, on the other hand, can, and as long as I keep attacking Meditite, he's a non-issue. We're doing pretty good, honestly, until Makuhita one-shots the magnet with a Vital Throw, but I still have 2 Electrics. The first paralyzes and gets a single defense drop before falling. Ace is still 1 level shy of learning Spark, meaning he needs to rely on Quick Attack. With that minus defense, it's still not great. Let's get some Howls in to boost his attack, heal, hit a much more powerful Quick Attack, but it's still not enough, and I lose to Brawly? I did not see that coming. I was much more worried about the first gym. Alright, let's take this thing a bit more seriously. The next battle things are going well, until Makuhita gets a 5-hit arm thrust, including a crit, which was just what he needed to knock out Ace and defeat me again. On the third attempt, rather than swap into Magnemite when Voltorb dies, I instead use Electrike. The Meditite battle is, again, simple, though it takes a good deal longer. This way, Electrike can paralyze Makuhita before Magnemite comes out. The Sumo is fully paralyzed twice, and takes a good chunk of damage from 3 Thundershocks. We're still cutting it really close, but with a Howl, several Quick Attacks, and 1 final paralysis, Brawly is defeated on the 3rd attempt. And now, things should be smooth sailing. At the very least, the Mawile City gym is simple, as Wattson has an illegal Manectric at this point several levels earlier than normal. And quite the man he is, easily defeating Battlegirl Vivian's lack of electric types, and virtually every other trainer here too. For the final trainer, I give the unevolved Electrike a shot here, but he can't defeat this magnet. That's what I get for letting a boy do a man's job. Or an orb's, as the case may be. Either way, Wattson quite easily earns back his 3rd gym leader spot. Now, I just need to escape these lame traps some weirdo set up. At which point, Boyectric also becomes a man, but he'll always be a little boy to me. Okay, that came out weird. I just meant I'm not changing his nickname. For Flnnery, I begin with Manectric, who has learned Return. It's not enough for a one-shot, though it does prompt a Flnnery heal before getting a crit. Slugma isn't one-shot either, as Manectric gets hit with the second overheat of the day. That he survives with 3 HP. Camerupt easily finishes it off after another return crit. Good job there, man. And a static too. Boyectric takes some time to howl, because his best attacking move is Quick Attack, which is not nearly enough. Okay, a few sonic booms from the orb knocks out the camel. With another overheat, Torkoal makes short work of it, leaving only Magnemite alive. I was saving Magnemite here, trying to make use of his good special attack, but Thundershock does basically nothing. Well, there is another whiteout. The next attempt goes even poorer, as I don't get past Camerupt at all. Okay, time to change some plans. This time, Boyectric knows secret power and beats Numel. He falls to Slugma after a Thunder Wave, but more importantly, baits out an Overheat. With that minus special attack, Slugma should no longer go for Overheat, instead using Smog and Light Screen. Smog could poison, but Manectric needs to risk it to howl 6 times for the attack boost. He's gonna need it. After the 6th howl, the sun is out, which doesn't matter for Camerupt, but it does for Torkoal. So, I howl 2 more times to stall the sun before returning the slug. Camerupt is one-shot with return, and as Torkoal comes out, the sun sets, meaning Overheat is no longer a one-hit KO. Torkoal instead body slams, getting herself paralyzed, which was great. A second return defeats another gym leader who was tougher than I had expected. Maybe Wattson isn't as great as I thought. Let's see if I can defeat Norman without losing. Boyectric begins by sparking Spinda, it gets paralyzed, and falls to secret power. Vigoroth is also paralyzed, I heal, and Facade is quite a bit more powerful now. That should be okay, but I didn't even need the speed drop, so that was pointless. Boyectric then dies because of my mistake. Manectric defeats it, but is too weak to knock out Lanoon, even with a belly drum. That max attack is quite terrifying, so now a Thunder Wave makes sense. Manectric still falls. Magnemite barely hangs on with a single HP, heals with a berry, and Norman heals again. A full paralysis allows Magnemite to get a single metal sound, thunderbolting the quite scary raccoon thing. Not even slacking is strong enough to defeat my little metal magnet. It metal sounds, heals, and metal sounds 2 more times till slacking is at -6 special defense. 2 sparks would certainly take it out, but I thought Norman was going to heal here, and I didn't want Magnemite to fall asleep, so I swap into Voltorb, hoping it might outspeed, which it does not. But that sacrifice gives me a guaranteed victory with one final Thunderbolt. Would you look at that? We finally beat another gym first try. It only took forever. Right after the battle, Magnemite did such a good job that it gets to evolve. Voltorb, not so much, but it evolves anyway. Now, you might naively think that Winona would be a simple battle since her flyers are weak to my Electricers. And while that's mostly true, there are a few things to watch out for. Not Swablu, that thing is a goner. No, the main issue is Altaria and her Earthquake. Electrode, however, can take care of her by blowing up. Or not. That was not even close to worth it. Manectric's Thunderbolt is not strong enough as the dragon starts to dance. But I'm not about to let that happen. He Thunder Waves and gets in a few pathetic hits that go basically nowhere. Magneton clearly stands no chance here, leaving it all up to Boyectric. A single spark was so close, but not quite there. Meaning, I lose, to the flying lady of all people. Wattson, you'd better start being good here. I'm kind of tired of all this losing. On the second attempt, Electrode screeches instead of immediately blowing up, which didn't help in the slightest. Okay, let's try something else. Let's do a setup strat with Manectric. 2 turns in, Manectric's howls are broken up by a terrible song, which completely ruins my plans. I swap into Boyectric, then back into the man to clear the song from his ears, if he has any. Expecting a swap into Altaria, Manectric Thunder Waves right as it comes out. It's not what I had planned, but it's better than nothing. 2 howls should make return a 2-hit KO, but not with that tiny berry. Thankfully, Altaria keeps getting fully paralyzed, taking hit after hit, only earthquaking when she's basically already dead, and Electrode can help her along. With her gone, the rest of the battle should be fine. Skarmory poses no threat, nor does Swablu or Pelipper. Because she is neutral to electric damage, let's just blow up on Tropius. Why not? That battle was way harder than it had any right to be. What really sucks is the very next gym leader also has an earthquaking Pokemon. I have a plan that hopefully makes it okay. Both the man and the boy team up to bite Claydol. I'm not expecting it to fall, but one of those bites should flinch, right? Or not. At least my guys survived the earthquake, and there goes both my battle berries. Manectric then gets a lucky crit Thunderbolt, one-shotting the now much less calm Xatu, and one more bite takes out Claydol. Both Ectricks team up on Solrock, knocking it right out, but Boy pays the ultimate price. A simple Thunderbolt, Metal Sound Bolt combo, broken up by a full paralysis, knocks the moon out of the sky too. Not gonna lie, that went way better than expected. That Claydol was terrifying. With one major exception, Juan shouldn't be too bad. Boy Ectric now also knows Thunderbolt, easily defeating Luvdisc. Whiscash is another matter entirely. For the first several turns, he chooses to do nothing important, getting hit with 2 not great returns. Boy Ectric survives an earthquake, but I don't want to do more damage and prompt a heal. No, he just needs to die here. That way, Electrode self-destructs the earthquaking fish. With him gone, and the rain up, Manectric gets at least 1 turn to Thunder, not that it was necessary. Crawdaunt is bolted, as is Kingdra, who takes 2 hits. Even with an earthquaking Mon, that went very well. With the 8th badge in hand, let's challenge the Elite Four too, because why not? He deserves it. Boy Ectric starts by getting intimidated and some dirt thrown in his eye. That's not a great start. Several Thunderbolts defeats Mightyena. Shiftry mighty kindly boosts his attack back up, gets paralyzed, and torments, preventing him from using the same attack twice in a row. Well, that's gonna make things take a lot longer. Cacturne stays alive for quite a while, not because it's good or anything, just because of that darn torment. It doesn't save him in the end. Crawdaunt is bolted, and Boy finally meets his end to Absol. Magneton finishes it off, beating Sydney no problem. Phoebe's first Dusclops confuses Boy Ectric, staying alive just a tad longer than it otherwise would have. The second Dusclops has Earthquake, but thankfully he's not super strong, so it should be okay. Boy is still defeated, and I thought Magneton, with its superior special attack, could finish off Dusclops, but I was wrong. Good thing it somehow survives a quad-effective Earthquake. I let it fall to Banette for a clean swap into Manectric. The remaining ghosts are all defeated by him, though Sablei's double team proves frustrating and I need a break to heal. I take my anger out on Banette with a one-shot Thunder, just for fun. Glacia's first Celio is too slow, immediately falling to Magneton's bolts. Walrein misses a sheer cold, but hits the second. Well, that's frustrating, but there's nothing I could have done about that, since only my ace can match his ace's level. Speaking of, my ace is stronger than hers. Glalie is double thunderbolted, but does slow the man down. It doesn't matter for Celio, but does for the second Glalie. Electrode tries to take them both out, and fails. Boy Ectric, the last surviving member, then double bolts for the knockout. This, unfortunately, brings me to Drake. I don't expect this plan to work, but just in case, Boy Ectric starts the battle with a howl. Shelgon immediately Rock Tomb, slowing him down, and yeah, that's basically what I expected. Several turns later, Shelgon is knocked out, and Boy Ectric quickly follows suit because he's too slow. Alright Electrode, let's see what you can do to Flygon. Well, that was not nearly as much as I had hoped. Still, it's enough for Manectric to return Flygon. This Altaria does not have Earthquake, but it does have Double Edge, so let's swap into Magneton. You can Dragon Dance all you want, a Metal Sound Thunderbolt, and it's a goner. I pivot to Man to get Flamethrowered. He heals against Salamence, not just once, but twice, eventually defeating it with a Lucky Thunder. Nice. I'm out of heals at this point, and out of Electrics. Thanks, Kingdra. We're at Drake's final Pokemon, but Magneton just can't do it, and I have the first Wattson Elite Four loss. On the next attempt, it again comes down to Magneton v Kingdra, but the Magnets have a bit more HP, and Kingdra chooses to dance straight into the grave. I was afraid I might lose again there. I'd better not lose to Wallace though, the other Hoenn Water trainer. Boy starts by thunderbolting both the giant Wailord and Gyarados too. Of course, this brings out Whiscash, and his return is quite bad. I think we all know what happens here. With Boy gone, Electrode would survive a non-crit Earthquake, so I take the chance to Light Screen, just in case, before, yes, blowing up. That screen ended up being pointless, as Tentacruel misses 2 Hydro Pumps in a row. Well, good job, Magneton, I suppose? Ludicolo gets his special defense lowered, but it's still not enough for Magneton to win. Oh boy, it's all down to the manliest of dogs. It's actually a good thing here that his Thunderbolt isn't quite enough, because it makes Wallace use his 3 remaining heals, while I still have 4 of them. I think we can do this, as our last 2 Pokemons face off against each other. Milotic chooses to Toxic, which is fine by me. A second Thunderbolt might not be enough, so my man thunders, it connects, and Wallace is defeated first try. Which isn't all that surprising since he has a team of water types, but he also did have some earthquaking mons, so you know, it's a trade-off. That was great and all, because now Wattson is the champion. But how in the world are we going to beat Steven? Skarmory isn't an issue, of course, getting immediately thunderbolted. Aggron, however, survives the hit, earthquaking, as Manectric also survives. I didn't expect that at all. Too bad Steven swaps into Claydol to avoid falling to more bolts. The man is then earthquaked again, letting me bring out Electrode to self-destruct. Aggron is defeated by Boy's Thunderbolt, bringing out Steven's 3rd Pokemon with Earthquake, Metagross. Surprisingly, Boyetric survives that hit with 4 whole HP. And then he dies. Alright Magneton, can you make it? No, of course not. So I lose, and a second time for good measure. On the 3rd attempt, I change things up as Manectric begins with a Rain Dance. Skarmory and then Aggron are both one-shot with Thunder. Metagross is still too strong, but we had a solid start. In the end, it did not matter, and I still can't get past the Gross. We're running out of tries here, Wattson. You might not make it. The 4th attempt also ends in failure. Okay, for the final try, I'm going to be as cheap as possible. Manectric spams Double Team. I'm not a fan of this, but this is my last shot at the very final battle. After 6 Double Teams, Man Rain Dances and starts to thunder just like before. Unfortunately, Metagross still hits through the -6 evasion with an Earthquake, so that really did absolutely nothing. But a high roll second Thunder from Boyetric finally knocks out Metagross after far too many tries. He deals some damage to Claydol before falling, as Electrode blows it up. Okay, now it's all down to Magneton, and Steven has 2 fossils left. Armaldo is Metal Sounded, then one-shot with Thunderbolt. Cradily is also Metal Sounded and paralyzed. I use my heals here, and it gets confused again. But Cradily can't really do much to Magneton, so a few turns later I win with a single Thunderbolt since the plant has -6 special defense. Well, that was a tough one, but Wattson, against all odds, came out ahead, beating Steven and his plethora of earthquaking Pokemon. Seriously, why are there so many of them? As Flnnery, now it's my turn to have earthquaking Pokemon. While she does have a team of 4, 2 of them are a repeat, and they are all slow as dirt, so I won't be outspeeding much with these fire guys. Roxanne's rocks are one exception, not that it should do too much good. At least Numel is not weak to rock thanks to her ground typing. She begins growling several times, just in case she doesn't survive. After those 4 yelps, she then starts to Ember. If it weren't for a potion, she totally would have defeated the first rock. As it is, she gets really close, but no cigar. The near identical Numel hits one final Ember. She repeats the process on the next Geodude, growling many times. But she also managed to get a burn with Ember, letting her live to see another rock fall. Nosepass clearly outspeeds, and knocks her right out. Now Slugma could either put Nosepass to sleep or try for a poison. Let's do the latter, and it immediately works. That was amazing. Goodbye, Sluggy. With a single Pokemon left, it's time for Torkoal to shine by cursing Nosepass just in case he Rock Tombs. But with my lowered speed, she probably won't. Her tackles still do next to nothing. Torkoal's Embers aren't much better, but the nose is poisoned, letting me win first try. That was a pleasant surprise. I was prepared to have to redo that battle multiple times. For Brawly, I start with the same, not yet nicknamed Numel. She needs to do something to earn a name, and that something is not falling to Machops Chop. That's not useful. The second Numel is useful, getting another burn on the second hit. This Numel is pretty good at that. It does give Machop an attack boost, but the extra damage is still beneficial. She defeats it, and Meditite too, of course. She promptly falls to Makuhita, letting Slugma come out. She also gets a burn, so it's a really good thing this sumo is of the fat variety and not the gutsy kind. It doesn't help the slug survive, though Torkoal, with crazy high defense, makes short work of it. 2 burns in a single battle was pretty lucky. I shouldn't need any luck to defeat Wattson though, not with my 2 ground type Numels. I was concerned Voltorb was going to blow up, but it begins a rollout instead, getting magnituded twice. Electrike takes a few hits, deals a bit of damage, heals, but still falls. The quad weak to ground Magneton does as well. Numel heals with a berry, and Manectric takes some time to howl and heal. Not that it mattered, 2 more hits and I'm the victor. This brings me back to Flnnery's Fire Gym. The only thing is, I now have an illegal Camerupt 7 levels early. This girl simply spams Magnitude, defeating each and every trainer here. Even Danielle's Meditite, who is not Fire type last time I checked, doesn't stop her from winning though. Of course, I still need to jump into these weird little pits to make sure no trainers are hiding. I'm eventually satisfied I got them all, so Flnnery gets back to her gym without a single loss so far. Nice! For Norman's normal types, Spinda isn't too tough, also getting spam magnituded, following an annoying confusion. Vigoroth is a bit too quick, and I keep getting magnitude 7. 7 isn't horrible, but it's not amazing either. I heal, and 2 more hits is all it takes. Or it would have, if Spammerup didn't get a 6, followed by a 4. That is pathetic. It's the weakest it can possibly be. So she doesn't make it, but the still unevolved Numel shows her how it's done, popping out a 9 first try. Which is even more powerful than an Earthquake, by the way. Lanoon was not impressed. It is scared by the super defensive Torkoal, belly drumming like a fool. Though I've lost half of my team at this point, this quarter of my team has Protect and immediately gets a burn on slacking. Wow, Flnnery is rocking with these fire moves. It obviously takes a bit of time, but with Protect and Burn, slacking is easily dispatched. Winona, on the other hand, may not be so easy. She has a number of Pokemon I'm concerned about. No, Swablu, you're clearly not one of them. Then again, as I'm trying to set up Amnesia in preparation for Pelipper, she sees what I'm doing and ruins it with Perish Song. That really sucks. I was really hoping Slugma could beat it before the song kicked in, but since he won't, I might as well yawn right as Pelipper comes out. Torkoal protects, making her fall asleep before starting to body slam. It's a bit weaker than I'd hoped, meaning a curse is warranted. Pelipper wakes up to confuse her, but thankfully never hits with a water gun. That single move could have wrecked most of my team. Her second concerning Mon is Altaria, but thanks to my super high defense, she chooses to not Earthquake right away. This gives me time to curse while she dances. Following a heal on her part, and far too many dragon dances, her ace is body slammed into the grave. Her surviving Skarmory and Swablu are not a concern. The Tropius even hastens her own death with Sunny Day. That works for me. Now Numel can legitimately evolve, as can Slugma. I feel like this is kind of late, level-wise, for Pokemon that, let's be honest, aren't even that great, but hey, maybe they'll surprise me. This double battle is the perfect chance to prove me wrong. For no real reason I can discern, Xatu starts off with a Sunny Day. Thank you. Claydol is by far the scariest Pokemon here, so Torkoal and Extra Spicy, the one who always gets the burn, teamed up to Overheat, flamethrowering that thing right out of existence. Too bad they're slower than Dirt and get Earthquaked first. Spicy is Psychicked, bringing out the even slower Margot the Macargo because that's somehow possible. And this girl, well, to be blunt, does nothing aside from diverting a few hits away from Torkoal. So that is something, I suppose. Xatu is then knocked out and we're both down to our final 2 Pokemon. We all take some time to increase our special defenses, them with Light Screen and me with Amnesias. At which point, I heal both of my girls, and they begin to slowly, but surely, knock out the Sunrock with flamethrowers, after it's burned of course. I still need to heal again, but being a 2v1, Lunatone now stands no chance. Man, Flnnery is doing really well here. Not a single loss and 7 badges. It feels like nothing can stop me now, except for little Juany boy with just a dash of water. Margot sacrifices herself to Juan Lovedisk so Torkoal can start to Amnesia. I'm not a huge fan of this strat, but it's really the only possible way I can win, with 3 Pokemon quad weak to water. With +6 special defense, Torkoal can start to body slam the fish. The seal almost takes me out with some annoying confusions and water pulses. We both end up needing to heal, and eventually Torkoal slams him too. Whiscash forces me to heal again, but at this point I've run out of healing items, and Torkoal just can't go the distance. Dang it. Spammerupt tries to get Amnesia going again, but clearly she can't do it. Spicy does outspeed to defeat it, getting crab hammered by the non-crab. And that marks Flnnery's very first loss, which is disappointing, but honestly, I did not expect to get this far without one. On the next attempt, Lovedisk gets a crit, so I'm obviously not going to win. I still do get past the love fish, but that's it. Okay, now it's time to get serious. For this next attempt, after the triple amnesia, Torkoal begins to curse. She's already slower than everything anyway. Once I've gotten enough, Lovedisk is one-shot, though Torkoal needs a heal before defeating Celio. Whiscash and Crawdaunt are both body slammed, no problem. Kingdra, on the other hand, survives the hit as I resort to my final heal. This isn't looking great, since Juan still has some heals and Kingdra knows rest, but a lucky crit makes that completely pointless. Flnnery, with all of her fire types, defeats the water gym, earning her final badge. There's no time to bask in the glory that is my awesomeness, however, because I still have the Elite Four. We can bask later. Margot begins the Sydney battle doing the one thing she's good at, boring other Pokemon to sleep. That way Torkoal can come out to Amnesia in preparation for Crawdaunt, who is immediately swapped into after a flamethrower fails to one-shot Mightyena. No matter, between several body slams, another Amnesia, just to be safe, and a heal, the water type is a goner. And that was Sydney's scariest Pokemon. Of course, Absol does a decent job with Rock Slide, getting Torkoal down to a single HP, necessitating my second heal. It still falls without issues, as does Mightyena. Shiftry hides as best as he can, which works for a few turns but is just a stalling strat. Last is Cacturn, and that was not a big problem. Since Phoebe's Dusclops loves to start with Protect, I make the best of it and Sunny Day. I had hoped Spammerup's Flamethrower would now be a one-shot, but alas, 'twas not to be. After some stalls, including a heal, Spammerupt uses her new spamming move, Earthquake. The second Dusclops does decent damage with its own Earthquake, but falls to another Sunny Day Flamethrower combo. Baynet defeats Spammerupt, not surprising at this HP, and then just really wants to take Spicy's Flamethrower PP away. It must know how well she's been burning this whole video. No matter, she still has Overheat. That is too weak for Sableye. Huh, Earthquake it is, I suppose. She is defeated by the second Baynet, and I allow Margot to do something aside from yawning just this once. Though Glacia is an Ice-type user, she also has some Water Mons. This means I need to be prepared with Amnesia, but first I want to make her waste a heal. Thanks to a crit that I really didn't want, for once, Celio is straight up knocked out. Well, the Surfing Wall Rain doesn't bode too well. Torkoal tries to salvage this fiasco with Amnesia, and it looks like she might kind of be able to do it, but with how weak Body Slam is, it's a no-go, especially with a crit. My last 2 quad weak to water Pokemon stand no chance, and I lose mid Elite Four. Dang it. It was kind of my fault though. I should have known I'd get a crit right when I didn't want one. This time round, Torkoal uses the only strategy that works for water types, Amnesia and Cursing. Mostly Amnesia for a while because of this Encore, which was unfortunate. Eventually it wears off, I heal, Torkoal curses a ton and is ready to go. Celio is one-shot, though Wall Rain survives just long enough to be paralyzed before falling. Glalie, Celio, and then Glalie all succumb to body slams as I get my revenge on the second trainer to beat Flnnery. For Drake, I'm concerned about his Kingdra most of all, so before Shelgon is knocked out with Earthquakes, Spammerupt uses a Sunny Day. And out comes Flygon. I misjudged that, apparently, and this Earthquaking Dragon takes out my entire team, even after a burn. So I was preparing for the wrong Pokemon, it seems. I didn't want to do this again so soon, but I apparently need another Cursed Amnesia strat by Torkoal. After a heal, Shelgon is taken right out, and thanks to that insane defense, Torkoal survives Flygon's Earthquake. Salamence takes 2 hits, both Kingdra and Altaria start to Dragon Dance, and that's the end of that. The Elite Four is defeated, and now it's time to battle the champion. There's only one major problem here. Wailord is surprisingly quick, or more accurately, my entire team is stupid slow. The end result is a water-spouting whale that ends this battle before it even gets going. Well, that really sucked, and it went way worse than I expected. I guess there's only one thing to do here: protect stall. Waterspout only has 5 PP, and Margot takes out 3 of them, sacrificing herself in the process. Spicy takes the other 2, thanks to another protect, but also falls. This puts me down to half my team, and the battle just barely got started. With Waterspout gone, however, the whale's only attacking moves are Blizzard and Double Edge, neither of which do much to my fire turtle, especially not as she curses and amnesias. I'm sure you already saw that coming. She does have return now, by the way, one-shotting the whale. Since it's raining, she stalls a bit with Protect, just in case, as Ludicolo double teams. She still hits through it without too much problems. On the last rain turn, Tentacruel misses Hydro Pump and also falls. Whiscash tries to pull a Torkoal, but it was a poor choice. Gyarados tries to Intimidate, but it's countered by White Smoke. This turtle is doing pretty good. Finally, Milotic fails to get a crit, and Wallace is defeated on the second try, which has become a bit of a pattern in these last few battles. Hopefully Steven shouldn't be so tough, what with his steel types. Spamrapt begins with Sunny Day, which wasn't necessary for Skarmory, but I had hoped she could use the fire boost to defeat Metagross. Instead, Aggron comes out next, and this giant steel dinosaur is faster than my camel. Well, that kind of sucks. The other camel takes a hit and responds with her own Earthquake. Now, the sun is still out, but Spicy does not get a chance to overheat like I had hoped. The sun has now worn off, and Torkoal just barely misses out on the KO with Flamethrower. She falls to Earthquake after Steven heals, and then it's all up to Margot, who does as well as you'd expect, meaning she dies, and I lose again. This time, I have a better plan though. The sun didn't quite work out as expected, so now Spam just starts with Flamethrower. And Aggron, for some reason, sacrifices himself to Solar Beam. That was not part of the plan, but sweet. Spamrupt and Metagross barely survive each other's hits, and Steven takes the chance to heal while I Flamethrower again, and then set up the sun. With the sun boost, Torkoal's Flamethrower takes it right out. Claydol's Earthquake is still decently powerful, making me use 2 heals right off the bat, just as I'm starting to curse, decreasing that damage. In the end, I use all 4 of my heals on this flying whatever it is, and get crit right at the end, leaving Torkoal in a horrible position. Cradily ends her suffering with an Ancient Power Omni Boost, because of course she does. Margot does virtually nothing, and Spicy tries to Fissure a few times. It would have been awesome, but it does not work, as another attempt ends in failure. On the next try, I get to Claydol again, who keeps Earthquaking, but now I only end up using 2 of my heals, meaning I have a good backup for the confusing and stalling Cradily. It is defeated with some major difficulty, and then Armaldo gets a lucky crit, knocking Torkoal out. I still have 2 Pokemon here, though both of them are quad weak to Water Pulse. Margot survives that hit, doing what she does best, yawning. That's all she gets a chance to do, but it's enough, as Extra Spicy, who outspeeds anyway, gets 2 Flamethrower turns for the win, thus marking Flnnery's victory over the entire Hoenn region, with some pretty major difficulties. I wish I hadn't had to rely on Curse and Amnesia quite so much, but I'd rather do that than just be stuck at the final gym. Either way, these super slow Pokemon limped their way to the finish line, eventually. In spite of being a normal type trainer, Norman should actually have a decent run here, once his tiny sloths evolve, that is. Right now, they absolutely suck. For Roxanne, I need to be drastic from the start. Though I doubt it'll happen, Zigzagoon only has Headbutt PP. If By some miracle, he flinches Geodude 15 times, he'll start to struggle, dealing extra damage. He does get 2 flinches, so 1/7 of the way there, I suppose. I didn't really expect it to work. Slackoth yawns Geodude before swapping into Spinda. Thanks to a crit uproar, he does some damage, but it's clearly not enough to win. All I have left now are 2 Slackoths. Even with their incredible ability to attack every other turn, this doesn't bode well for me. The first one falls, and the second one shortly after. We didn't even beat Roxanne's first rock. That's just sad. Following that horrible debacle, this time I lead with Spinda, who has almost leveled up. I immediately run away, but if I can defeat Geodude, things will get a lot easier. The only problem is, well, I can't defeat it. Not even with a healing Slackoth. When it's all down to Spinda, he does his best, which was really quite pathetic. Okay, there goes the second attempt, and the third follows shortly after. In order to actually allow Norman to get past the first gym, I will bend the level scaling rule just slightly, getting Spinda to level 12 where he learns Feint Attack, a special attacking move. Since it was only 1 level away, and it's still well below Nosepass's level, I felt like this was an acceptable change. I start with Slackoth to put the rock to sleep, which proved pointless as it immediately wakes up. Still, Feint Attack does a decent amount, allowing Spinda to finally defeat the first Geodude, relying only on an Oran Berry. Following another Rock Tomb by the second Geode, I pivot back to Slackoth to yawn again, and take the chance to heal Spinda. He comes back out to defeat the second rock. We're almost at the end now. The only problem is Nosepass actually has good special defense, unlike the other rocks. Expecting a battle of attrition, Slackoth yawns again and is sacrificed. The goon then begins to growl at the sleeping Nosepass. Not sure how that works, but okay. After 6 growls, he does something with Headbutt and Tackle, though it's not amazing. As long as I'm not crit here, Spinda should be able to win, hopefully before running out of Feint Attack PP. And he is, because Roxanne wasted both of her potions already. Well, that was a rough start, Norman. With that badge though, one of the Slackoths evolve into a mighty decent middle stage Pokemon. At least he can attack every turn now. You might think that Brawly, with his fighters, would have an advantage over my, well, not fighters. But Vigoroth not only has learned Cut, benefiting from Stab, but he also can use Encore, forcing Machop to bulk up forever. While Cut does progressively less damage because of the increased defense, it doesn't matter as Machop is never able to attack. It takes a bit longer, but it's far safer. Meditite, as always, does nothing here. Now Makuhita plays it smart, hitting with Vital Throw instead of bulk ups. Thanks to a Citrus Berry, however, and a lucky Cut crit, Vigoroth beats Brawly all on his own. That was way easier than I thought it would be. Good job. My second Slackoth tries to evolve too, but I don't let him. At least not for 1 more level, so he learns Feint Attack. After all, that is the move that saved this run. Zigzagoon also tries to evolve, but he's going to have to wait quite a bit longer. His lack of evolution means he promptly falls to Wattson's Voltorb. Well, he tried. Feinty, the Vigoroth with Feint Attack, of course, gets his revenge with a few cuts. Electrike follows suit, but gets a payback static. He sacrifices himself to make Magneton fall asleep as I bring out the rock-smashing Spinda. I had every intention of sacrificing him here after getting some defense drops, but he knocks out the Magnet all on his own. That was unexpected. Not that he does anything to Manectric. Alright, time for our aces to face off against each other. Well, that paralysis was less than ideal. At least the dog falls asleep. It wakes up, and I need to resort to a heal. On the next sleep cycle, it falls deeper into sleep, giving Ace several free turns to Cut. In the end, he does manage to win with only 10 HP left. That was remarkably close, but it all worked out okay. Feinty then leads the charge against Flnnery's Numel, getting a lucky Cut crit right out of the gate. He's hit with a pretty strong overheat by Slugma, but nothing he can't handle. He even avoids a Camerupt overheat, so it's time to sacrifice Stillagoon as the camel falls asleep. Ace has now learned Stab Return, knocking out Camerupt in 2 hits. Of course, I can't lose him to a Torkoal overheat, so Feinty comes on out as Torkoal Sunny Days. This gives him the perfect chance to encore. It only lasts a few turns because the Sunny Day PP wears off pretty quick. Still, you did good, Fainty. Spinda's job is to take another overheat to lower Torkoal's special attack. We're back down to our aces again, who promptly gets attracted. There's nothing I can do about that, but it looks like I didn't need to worry. Nice. The trainers in Norman's gym aren't really difficult, per se, especially since I now have an illegal ace, but they are able to use items, and there are far too many of them. Either way, room after room, they are knocked out by ace, earning a remarkably easy 5th badge. Right back where we started. Yay! To make my way through the 6th gym, I taught Spinda Shockwave. Not that it's any more powerful than a Dizzy Punch against Swablu. He takes a few hits, but does defeat the Swablu after several mirror moves. 2 pathetic punches later, Tropius hits an overkill Solar Beam. Time for Fainty to use Ice Beam. He yawns Pelipper before running away to Illegal. This guy knows Thunderbolt, which is way better than Spinda's sad Shockwave. Of course, if he had Shockwave, he wouldn't keep missing Skarmory, so there's that. Once again, I use Stillagoon as a sacrifice to clear the sand from Illegal's eyes. Several turns later, Skarmory is defeated after some unnecessary loafing about. If he weren't so lazy, he also could have beaten Altaria. As it is, he doesn't do quite enough, and he is a goner. It doesn't matter though. One more Ice Beam from Fainty finishes the job and the gym. Finally, at level 41, Stillagoon learns Belly Drum, the reason he's been waiting to evolve for so long. I won't evolve Fainty just yet. For the Tate Liza double battle, I want to make use of Spinda's Teeter Dance to confuse everyone, but he's crit right away. That was unfortunate. Fainty's Slash is still not enough to defeat Claydol. Okay, still, Ace encores Xatu into Calm Minding, ensuring he doesn't attack before falling. The Earthquakes, though, take quite a toll on Fainty. Though Stillagoon has evolved, I've decided not to change his name, and he immediately dies anyway. So it's all up to Ace, but not even he can take on all these Mons by himself. So I lose, for the first time since Roxnne. I'll be honest, I didn't expect that. I was unprepared here, it seems. On attempt 2, I now have Stillagoon at the front, while Ace knocks Claydol right out. Nice. Goon belly drums, and thankfully is not targeted, getting the chance to destroy Lunatone, before actually getting hit. At least Spinda gets a chance to Teeter Dance now. Slacking was already confused, so it's a win-win. Xatu and Solrock are both defeated in short order, but not before Solrock kills Spinda for no real reason. Jerk. Oh well, we still win. It 100% was not necessary, but now that Fainty has learned Focus Punch, he too can evolve, giving us a fully evolved powerhouse team, and a Spinda. Since he didn't get a chance to show off Belly Drum last battle, and has done very little this entire run, I unleashed the Goon in the final gym. He was attracted to Love Disc, but as a very strong gym bro, lifting is far more important to him. He may not have extreme speed, that would be cool, but he also doesn't need it. Goon is fast enough, and now strong enough to one-shot the entire gym. Nice. I promise I won't make a habit of this, probably, but for Sydney, I belly drum again to show that I've learned from a previous video's mistake. I had incorrectly thought that belly drum gave you +6 attack, but it actually puts you directly at the max, meaning that the Intimidate from Mightyena doesn't do anything as long as it's before you activate the drum. Anyway, that's enough meta. We have another Goon sweep. Goodbye, Sydney. I could do the same thing with Shadow Ball against Phoebe, but let's mix it up, huh? Can't let the Goon take all the fun. Instead, Ace has Shadow Ball. Not that he gets a chance to actually use it, you darn Dusclops. Once he's cursed, I pivot into Fainty, who is also cursed? A weird decision, but okay. I need to swap again, so I let Spinda get burned by Bayonet. Sorry, not sorry. At least I didn't let him die. Yet. Fainty doesn't have Feint Attack because Earthquake is too good to not have. Sableye quickly succumbs to the Shaking Earthquake as well. Instead of getting hit during a loafing turn, now I sacrifice Spinda. Fainty returns to hit an Earthquake. I heal during a loafing turn because why not, defeating the second Bayonet with another Quake. For the final Dusclops, I swap into Ace, who has Shadow Ball. A lucky crit knocks her right out, and I didn't even need the goon. I'm not expecting much from Spinda here, but I give him a chance at redemption. If he can defeat Glacier's Celio, maybe, just maybe, he'll stop being a sacrifice. And surprisingly, he does very well. What with Confusion and Shockwave, Celio is actually defeated even after a heal. Wow, that was impressive, Spinda. And as much as I'd like him to not get killed, I like all of my other Pokemon quite a bit more, so I have no choice. In my defense though, I didn't expect to have to follow through with my side of the bargain. The second Celio proves to be more difficult to break, hitting with a Blizzard that I really could have done without. He still wins, and breaks the second Glalie too, almost, anyway. Okay, expecting a heal, Fainty then uses Focus Punch for the first and only time. This move is far too specific to be broadly useful. As much as this pains me, I also need to sacrifice Stillagoon on Fainty's loafing turn. To be fair, I didn't expect a crit though. Okay Fainty, you're the last one. As is Walrein. 2 returns are really strong, but not quite enough to knock it out. Thankfully, Fainty toughs it out, taking hit after hit, avoiding the ominous Sheer Cold, winning with a final return. Well, that was a tougher battle than I expected. Let's make the next one nice and easy, shall we? Goon successfully belly drums. The only problem is, I expected Shelgon to protect and not Rock Tomb. And now, he's not going to outspeed everything. That's no fair. It doesn't matter for the weak Altaria, it seems. I then heal him, just for Kingdra to get a crit Surf. Well, that was a waste. At this point, I finally just decided to give in to temptation and give Ace Hyper Beam. I might as well, right? Kingdra is beamed, as is Flygon, though it's a different kind. And Ace is Earthquaked first. I swap into Fainty, the less useful Slacking right now, to deal some damage with return. He doesn't quite last. That lets Still Ace one-shot with Ice Beam after a heal, bringing us to the final battle before becoming the champion. Wailord is immediately Hyper Beamed, no issues. As is Tentacruel after a Hydro Pump. Ludicolo, on the other hand, is doing a great job avoiding these beams, making me heal Ace twice. On the final Hyper Beam PP, it finally connects. Didn't expect him to be so tough. For Whiscash, rather than let Ace keep getting hit, I instead let Spinda get hit. He does manage to confuse before falling. This gives Goon a chance to belly drum, but now it's Wallace's turn to Hyper Beam. That was mighty unfair. He had a berry and everything too. I'm down to only my Slackings now. Whiscash is returned, and I pivot into Ace on a loafing turn. He Thunderbolts Gyarados, and then forces Milotic into Toxic with Encore. This means that Fainty is poisoned on the swap, but I viewed that as the best option. His return is pretty strong, but Milotic has multiple ways to heal, with a berry, full restore, or recover, and Encore ends pretty quickly. Fainty is doing a good job, ends up needing a heal himself, but he can't quite make it, falling to Surf. Okay Ace, it's your turn. Ace then has one shot, or one opportunity, to seize the championship, which is everything he's ever wanted, and he takes it with a single Shadow Ball as Milotic slides into oblivion. That was another tougher than expected battle, but we won in the end. Now, believe it or not, Steven should be a lot easier. I start with Goon to double Thunderbolt Skarmory. That doesn't quite work, but now Steven is going to heal, so let's just belly drum, because why not? I do need to full restore before Goon Thunderbolts Skarmory again for the knockout. With that max attack, well, Armaldo is still a 2-hit KO, but Goon easily tanks a slash. Claydol is promptly returned. Aggron then has a chance to end this reign of terror with an Earthquake, choosing instead to Solar Beam. I don't know why he chose that move, but it makes Dig a lot safer. Not even Cradily stops his double return. Metagross though proves to be too powerful, surviving Dig and ending Goon's winning streak. That's sad and all, but I still have 2 great Pokemon, one of which has Earthquake, so that's the end of that. I could say I was surprised how well Norman did here, but having 2 potential Slackings, a Pokemon with legendary level base stats, it was bound to happen. The more surprising part is how effective they were while still Vigoroths. A belly drumming Lanoon is always great too. And thanks for coming along, Spinda. you were helpful for pivoting. But you did also help me beat Roxnne, so that's pretty important. Winona has the privilege of being the gym leader tied with the largest Pokemon team. So this should be easy, right? More Pokemon equals a better trainer. Those Magikarp fishermen know what I'm talking about. While Roxanne's, well, Rox, do have an advantage over my team, I have a not-so-secret weapon, a water-gunning Wingull. Her 2 Geos stand no chance whatsoever. Being only Rock type, Nosepass does a much better job Rock Tombing the non-secret. But this just unleashes my other, slightly more secret weapon, Tropius. Not only is she a grass type, she's also a single stage Pokemon with a 460 base stat total, which is incredible this early in the game. A few sets of Bullet Seeds defeats Nosepass just like that. While the flying plant could easily beat Brawly on her own, I want to give Lil Swablu a chance here first. Even without a fighting resistance, she is doing a solid job. Of course with a heal, she can't quite make it. Fine, let's go Tropius. Do your thing with gusts. Machop and Meditite are knocked right out, while Makuhita lasts a little bit longer thanks to some heals. It doesn't matter in the end because my flyers are far too good. Perhaps I should be a little less cocky as Wattson is next. Unlike the last Wattson-Winona battle, there's no earthquaking here. I lead with Skarmory, Winona's other single stage Mon. She swifts Voltorb a single time, and I expected that to go slightly better. Swablu comes out to safeguard because I don't like how much this orb is paralyzing my team. She sacrificed herself to do it. Tropius begins to grow, or tries, till Voltorb explodes. 2 growths and the Howling Electrike is done for. I need to heal her against Magneton, but it still doesn't help. The Steel Magnet is too strong and resists grass. All I have left now are another Swablu and Wingull. Take that back, just Wingull. And that's the end. Well, that didn't work out so well. On the next attempt, I begin with Swablu to safeguard right away. This way Tropius gets a few turns to grow, but Voltorb doesn't like that. Dang it. I managed to defeat Electrike, but Manectric proves far too powerful. Something similar happens on the 3rd attempt. On number 4, Voltorb blows up on Skarmory, which is fine by me. She then proceeds to Sand Attack Electrike a fair amount. Now, this may seem pointless. Electrike has Shockwave, after all, but with the amount he's been growling, it seemed like a safer option for Tropius to set up with Growth. 6 growths and 1 heal later, Razor Leaf is now superpowered, and a crit one-shots Magneton after it paralyzes me. With full paralysis, Tropius is having some major issues defeating Manectric, using my second and last heal, before eventually winning. We got kind of close there, but I'm glad she made it. At this point, Wingull gets to evolve and learns Protect, just in time for the Flnnery Fire Gym. Numel is quad weak to water, so what did you expect? Slugma survives the hit, even light screening, making this much more difficult than it has to be. At least Pelipper can Protect to stall the light screen, and now there's the sun too. Why you gotta be like that, Fire Slug? The light screen wears off, and Pelipper continues to Protect when it's safe till the sun is set, along with Camerupt. Torkoal also sets up the sun like a jerk. Following a Protect, Body Slam, I let Skarmory stall for a bit. I wanted to let the sun go down again. Torkoal is almost defeated, but not quite, and she heals back up. Alright, Swablu is used as another sacrifice to heal Pelipper, as he's my only chance here. Following another sunny day, I do some more stalling, resulting in another fainted Pokemon, Tropius this time. But all of their sacrifices allow Pelipper to finally double Water Gun the Fire Turtle, earning the 4th badge. That's the 2nd time I've been happy to have a Water-type flyer. Now we head to Norman. I had hoped Tropius could simply Razor Leaf Spinda, but this guy has other plans, encoring her into growths that she didn't really want. Not that it saves Spinda in the slightest, it just takes a bit of time. I heal her up, and she proceeds to get slash crit, hitting herself, and just dying. Not how I hoped that would go at all. It shouldn't really matter though. Swablu tries to knock it out, though it clearly won't work. So let's growl instead. Skarmory may not have super high attack or anything, but with Leers and a crit air cutter, she beats Vigoroth. Lanoon follows suit, getting a few lucky flinches first. This brings us to slacking. Skarmory starts off by leering several times, then alternating between Leer and Air Slash to avoid a counter. Before long, that sloth is also defeated, And Winona is back to her gym. Speaking of, these gym trainers are made easier by the fact that I now have an illegal Altaria, aka Big Dragon. She's not incredibly powerful or anything, but she's got good defenses, and I've always really liked them. She, along with the special ice beaming Pelipper, helped me win over these trainers, officially becoming the 6th gym leader again. Yay! When Lil Dragon tries to evolve after the gym, I say no. Only for a few levels, till she learns Mirror Move. I have a very specific idea for that move. Who knows if it'll work. First, it's Tate and Liza time. My plan was to team up and defeat Claydol as quick as possible, but they're making this way too hard, but with confusion and light screen. After a few less than useful turns, Big Dragon doesn't even make it out alive. That was rough. Because Xatu has a very calm demeanor now, I focus on him to avoid those super strong psychics. At least that does work out. Pelipper gets healed, and that was a bit of a waste. As Skarmory double Steel Wings Lunatone here, and Claydol Earthquakes, I don't know why it did that, that was pointless, Sunrock Sunny Days. Thank you! This not only makes Tropius the fastest monster on the field, it's also great for one-turn Solar Beams, which finally takes out Claydol. It's only taken the entire freaking battle, jeez. I'm hopeful that a similar Sunny Day strat works with Juan, though we start off poorly thanks to several turns of confusion. Eventually, it does work out well enough. Celio is one-shot, though Kingdra won't have it, ice beaming Tropius into a sunny grave. That's fine, I expected as much. What I did not expect was how weak Skarmory's return would be. That's quite bad. She does prompt a heal on Juan's part, but that's about it. Right when I'm about to admit defeat, Big Dragon survives an Ice Beam, and Dragon Breath paralyzes. No way. Of course, she misses the next one, but Kingdra is fully paralyzed, giving her another chance, which she takes. I use my heal here, as Altaria is confused and hits herself far too many times. She's just trying to dance is all. After some time it works, and with those dragon dances, Whiscash is returned, as is Crawdaunt in 2 hits, marking the end of Winona's gym journey, whoever Jim is. Due to Sydney's scary Mightyena, I start that battle with Pelipper. 2 Surfs, and she is the victor. After a single hit to Absol, I swap to Skarmory to tank some hits. Even with a Swords Dance and a heal, she is victorious over Absol. Crawdaunt also begins a Swords Dance, and I underestimated him, it seems, as Tropius has a bit of trouble defeating him. 2 Giga Drains would have been enough, but I tried to save that PP for no real reason I can discern. Lil Dragon is swaggered by Shiftry on the swap, hitting herself multiple times. Eventually she can fly, which does connect first try. With that attack boost, Cacturne is also flown in a single hit. Not the best Elite Four start, but it's something. On to Phoebe, where I again lead with Pelipper. After some confusion shenanigans, he wins with a couple of Surfs. I pivot into Lil Dragon on a Thunderbolt, and Dragon Dance in preparation for my ultimate plan, getting hit by Shadow Ball. This may not seem like much, but with Mirror Move, it allows her to Shadow Ball right back. And that's it? That's all that it did? What a waste of time, considering I postponed an evolution for this move. Gosh. Especially now that Bayonet is gone, Mirror Move would just fail. So that's not at all the way it went in my head. Goodbye, little dragon. At least Skarmory resists those moves. This Dusclops knows Ice Beam, though it's not all that powerful, and falls in several Steel Wings. I heal her so she can defeat Bayonet, losing a bit of PP. That's fine. It's time for Big Dragon to show her face. That missed Dragon Claw was a bit anticlimactic, and even when it doesn't miss, it's a 3-hit KO. We still do win, but once again, it could have gone better. I'm expecting Glacia to be a major thorn in my side here. After all, 3/5 of my team don't do well with cold weather. I start with one of them, Tropius, to Sunny Day, get hit by Ice Ball, then Solar Beam. This baits out the second Celio, who survives and blizzards. Well, there goes that plan. After a heal, Pelipper takes it out, and I sacrifice Lil Dragon on the altar that is Glalie Ice Beam. This gives Skarmory a safe swap in. Of course, that crit Icy Wind was not helpful. Let's switch back to Pelipper to get frozen, heal herself, then surf the Ice Ball. The second Ice Ball Shadow Balls Skarmory on the swap, and wastes a turn to make it hail, bringing us to her last and scariest Pokemon, Walrein. She'll only get one turn here, so Skarmory Sand attacks as a final Hail Mary. Not that it helped Big Dragon avoid any icy moves. Okay, Pelipper, it's all up to you. I use my final heal here, and just hope that Walrein misses enough for me to win. It almost works, till Glacia heals too, and that's the end of that. Dang it, time to move to Plan B. Now I start with Lil Dragon, who begins a Dragon Dance. To stop Ice Ball from getting too strong, she also has Protect. Using a heal, she manages to get +6 attack. Time to let the frozen bodies hit the floor. Starting with Celio, and ending with Celio, because Glalie survives Earthquake and ends Dragon's reign of mild scaredness. Well, she tried. I still managed to get to Walrein that round, and am defeated by a sheer cold. Why you gotta rub it in, Glacia? That's just cold. On attempt 3, I use Skarmory to first Sand attack Celio 6 times, and then swap into Big Dragon. She also Dragon Dances, but now has Return, which is slightly more powerful than Earthquake. And now the bodies hit the floor. Properly, this time. Return defeats her whole team, and she has a Hyper Beam for Walrein, as long as she doesn't miss. Which, naturally, she does. Well, that's fun. She dies again, as does the rest of my team. After that, another attempt also ends in failure. So we are now onto the final attempt for Glacia. Things are not going well. Following the sand attacks, I bring out Tropius this time. All she needs is a couple of growths. She is hit by Ice Ball a single time, healing right back up with Giga Drain. The second Celio is beamed, as is the near run-ending Walrein. About time. First Glalie is too, and then the sun is gone, along with Tropius. Pelipper does really well here, but when it's clear she can't go any farther, I need to heal Skarmory back up. She comes out, ending the most difficult Winona battle with a single Steel Wing. I don't like getting to my final attempt here. That pressure makes it too hard for my Pokemon to perform. Not that I have that problem. Now Drake could be concerning, but I have a simple plan. Big Dragon only needs a single Dragon Dance, not so much for the attack boost, she just needs to be quick. Shelgon is Dragon Clawed, though the other Altaria survives an Ice Beam. Not what I expected, but I still outspeed after that dance, so it's not an issue. Flygon is one-shot, and Big Dragon even outspeeds the other bigger, scarier dragon. 2 Ice Beams defeats it. Kingdra also tries to outspeed with Dragon Dance, but my level advantage and badge boost prove too powerful as Drake is defeated with a single Pokemon. Well, that was way easier than I expected. The best option to defeat Wallace's Wailord ends up being Pelipper, who I really wish could learn Thunderbolt or Thunder, but Shockwave is the best she's got. Still better than nothing, I suppose. It's enough for the whale anyway. Now, I expected a Sludge Bomb from Tentacruel, but Lil Dragon is instead Ice Beamed on the swap, and is frozen, which was less than ideal. I heal her, and now it's a Sludge Bomb. Gee, thanks. Lil Dragon does Earthquake, but it's not enough here, and she falls. This brings out Pelipper once again to Shockwave in between some Ice Beams. For Milotic, I swap to Skarmory on a Toxic, so I planned that one right, huh? Who only gets a single return because he's too slow. I had hoped she would outspeed too. Bye bye, Rusted Bird. Big Dragon's return is also far too weak, and it's time for my secret weapon, Perish Song. I heal Pelipper again, stall for a bit, and had hoped he would swap to Whiscash, but nope, Ludicolo it is. That's no problem, Tropius can't be seeded by that guy, and gets a chance to grow. Just once should be good enough. Following a sunny day, 2 Solar Beams connect for the knockout. Milotic is beamed, and Whiscash obviously too. The sun does wear off on Gyarados, so he gets to live just a little while longer. Not too much though. I want to be the champion already. First try too, even after a rough start. Good job, Flyers. Let's just jump right into the Steven battle. Big Dragon has learned Flamethrower, even getting a burn too. Sweet. She takes the chance to Dragon Dance, it's basically free, before broiling the non-Winona Steel Bird. You traitor. Claydol hits a single Ancient Power, and that's all it gets. Now Cradily, I hate this thing. Almost immediately, it gets an Omni Boost, making things far more difficult for my own Steel Bird. 2 Steel Wings is all it would have taken, but with Confusion and Ingrain constantly healing, things are not going so well. Slowly, oh so slowly, but surely, she is losing to this fossil. Before she is completely defeated, I swap into Tropius, and the cycle continues all over again. All she needs is a few growths, the sun, and a solar beam. Is that too much to ask? For a long while, it is, but eventually it all works out okay. That was the absolute worst. At least Armaldo and Aggron aren't so bad. Quite the opposite, in fact. Last is Metagross. Thanks to a crit solar beam, Tropius actually gets decently close to winning, but not enough. With the sun gone, the best she can do is Giga Drain, which is obviously not sufficient. It's fine though. That was my first fainted Pokemon this whole long and stupidly drawn out battle. Lil Dragon almost wins in a few flamethrowers, but is just too weak and lets the Gross get a Meteor Mash attack boost. I thought Steven was going to heal here, so I Perish Song, getting Big Dragon killed. Well, okay. Pelipper stalls with Protect, just in case, but one more Surf ends the battle and the run. Well, that was something now, wasn't it? All I've got to say is all 5 of her Pokemon here were useful in one way or another. I'm glad they all got a chance to showcase exactly what they could do. Unlike that lame Spinda from the previous run, still don't like that thing. But I have a feeling you will like the Tate and Liza section. This guy and girl were so awesome when they were first introduced. A double gym leader battle blew my little 11-year-old mind. It was incredible. Since I couldn't pick just one of them, I named myself Tate Liz. That's as much as could fit. But there's a surprise for this run. In the spirit of being true to these twins, every gym leader is now a double battle. It only seemed right. My 2 stones team up to Confusion the Geo-1, knocking it right out. On the second turn, they do the same thing to Geodude. Nosepass then clearly stands no chance, even healing with a berry that didn't let him live thanks to a crit. Well, that was an exciting showing. For Brawly, I give the other half of my team a chance. They actually resist fighting after all. Natu doubly so. Metatite is immediately pecked by Natu, that was nice, while Baltoy already knows Psybeam. He's not a fantastic attacker, but between that and Nightshade by Natu, because the chop starts to bulk up, Brawly is already down to a single Mon. 2 more rounds of Nightshade and Psybeam defeats the Sumo without losing a single Pokemon so far. Well, this is almost too easy. For Wattson, I first want to knock out the speedy Voltorb. My stones try to gang up on it, but thanks to a missed rock throw, it doesn't quite work. But it's even better when Voltorb self-destructs, doing minor damage to my guys, but destroying Electrike. That's fine by me. Then it's Wattson's turn to gang up on my Moon, who never stood a chance. Good thing I have a ground type here. Too bad Mudslap really isn't that powerful, even against Magneton. To keep Sunstone alive, I heal once, and a second time almost immediately after. It was still not enough to make it. And Natu promptly falls, right after seeing the light of day. Alright Lil Baltoy, it's all up to you. Magneton is finally slapped to death, as Manectric begins a howl. The best move he's got is Quick Attack after all. Thankfully, Mudslap lowers his accuracy too. Wattson does some healing, I swap to using Psybeam for extra damage, and to get a Confusion. After several long turns, when I'm getting concerned Baltoy might not make it, Manectric is eventually defeated. That was the hardest battle so far. Once again for Flnnery, I start with the Celestials, and again, Sunstone misses a rock throw. I do not like how common this is becoming. It lets Numel stay alive to Sunny Day, which is not what I wanted to happen. Next turn it is defeated, and Sunstone makes up for its mistake with a crit rock throw. Alright, you're forgiven. Now Confusions are not super strong against Camerupt, but since they don't have guaranteed KOs with Overheat, the Turtle and Camel Body Slam and Tackle respectively, which is nothing I need to worry about, until Sun gets paralyzed, that is. But Moon makes a comeback, with an incredible crit Confusion, defeating Torkoal and earning the 4th badge. And we're still undefeated too. At this new level, Natu wants to evolve, but I'll hold off for just a bit. I lead with him and Baltoy against Norman. Sorry about this, Natu, but you're just a placeholder so that Baltoy can blow up in an attempt to clear the entire field. Too bad Vigoroth didn't get the memo, or even Spinda. So I cleared my half of the field, not a great start. I'm not sure why Norman heals Spinda instead of Vigoroth, but it's fine by me either way. Slaking comes out and is immediately confused, thank goodness, and tries to counter anyway, which is much better than a feint attack if we're being honest. A few rounds, and Spinda is knocked out. Slaking hits himself, perfect, and I clearly need to focus on Linoone, who inevitably belly drums into the grave. Slaking is healed, but is still confused. When it's finally time for him to attack again, he hits himself, and that's the end of that. I'm pretty lucky Slaking did nothing useful that whole battle, because his feint attack was a bit of a concern. A crit or two could have ended that battle, which did not start off very well. Regardless, now it's time to head to Winona. Because it worked out so well last time, I again start with Natu and Baltoy, but this time they peck and Ancient Power Tropius, who begins to Solar Beam. One more round of those attacks, and he's still alive, while Baltoy is not. Lame. She heals the Grass Dinosaur, who then falls to a Rock Throw double peck combo, while Sunstone Cosmic Powers in preparation for Pelipper. The only problem is, Swablu Perish songs the field. Well, that was not great. My guys defeat Pelipper before the song comes due, and even Swablu too. I can only save one of them, however, and naturally, it's Sunstone. Natu is Dragon Breathed right before the song ends her life anyway. Okay, I heal a bit, Sunstone Rock Throws Skarmory for some damage, and then overheats, knocking it right out. Altaria is Dragon Dancing, but I don't really understand why, as Aerial Ace is resisted by my stones. Dragon Breath seemed like a much better option. Regardless, they throw some rocks, heal, and throw more rocks one final time for good measure. Wow, can I point out how great Tate and Liza are doing right now? 6 badges and not a single loss. After learning Confuse Ray, which might be useful in the future, Natu can now evolve. Baltoy does as well, right on time to earn back our Moss Deep Gym. Here, I decide to mix things up and approach each of these trainers as a single battle, because even twins fight sometimes, and they need a break from each other. At least, I assume so. I haven't met my twin yet. Maybe he still needs a break. With Nightshade, the newly evolved Xatu does a decent job, while Sunstone does the rest. With all of these trainers defeated, and our gym resecured, it's time for the final gym battle. I really hope I can stay undefeated here, but I have some concerns. Namely, 3/4 of my team is weak to water, which is less than ideal. But hey, if Flnnery can beat this gym, so too can we. Xatu starts with a Giga Drain that is too weak to one-shot Whiscash, while Sunstone Sunny Days to weaken any water moves. Xatu can also learn Solar Beam via TM, while Sunstone learns it naturally. Whiscash is defeated, but Love Disc is not, which is surprising. I heal Sunstone, because Sunny Day is vital in this battle, while Xatu keeps on Solar Beaming. It takes 2 hits to knock out Celio, bringing out Kingdra, who is not weak to grass. Xatu sacrifices himself to confuse the Kingdra, and I really hope that works. Sunstone Cosmic Powers to boost its defenses, setting up the sun once again when it sets. Between Confusion, Solar Beam, and Psychic, Kingdra falls quite easily, which was a huge weight off my shoulders. Crawdaunt and Love Disc deal some decent damage to Moonstone, which tempts a heal, but at the last minute I decide against it. I'd rather he just fall so I can bring out Claydol. Between a Kamikaze Self-Destruction and one more Solar Beam, Crawdaunt and finally Love Disc are knocked out, while the defense-boosted Sun weathers the storm no problem, making Tate and Liza the first trainer to make it to the Elite Four unopposed. Now you might think Sydney, the dark guy, would have an advantage against my Psychics, and while that's true, to an extent, I have something he couldn't have anticipated, an exploding Sunstone. But first, Moonstone Cosmic Powers to take less damage from that explosion. So Sunstone clears the field, and Claydol does it again, just for funsies. Moonstone, once again, is the sole survivor. With only an Absol left, Sydney doesn't intimidate me anymore. It is confused, rock thrown, and solar beamed till I am victorious. Nice. Unfortunately, that same strategy will not work on Phoebe's ghosts. They are notorious for resisting explosions. But, since Dusclops is just going to protect anyway, Moonstone and Xatu both Psychic Bayonet right away. Dusclops, seeing his friend get utterly destroyed, hides behind another Protect, which is fine by me. Goodbye, other Bayonet. You could have stopped that, Dusclops. The second Dusclops comes out as my two Pokemon are finally hit by a Shadow Ball and Xatu is cursed. I can't afford to swap out Xatu, unfortunately, so she does fall, but not until the second Dusclops. Claydol misses an Earthquake, thanks to Double Team, while Sunstone does not disappoint, getting a crit Rock Slide. Phoebe wasn't even that tough either. For Glacia, I start with Claydol and Sunstone. Earthquake and Rock Slide hit both Glalie and Celio, though my gender non-conforming guys are slowed down. I could have done without that. Glacia heals Celio, Glalie falls to Earthquake, and I allow Sunstone to fall. Sorry, but I don't want to use a heal just yet. When Celio kicks the bucket, since this guy has Surf, he needs to be gone ASAP. Claydol tries to explode as Lunatone Cosmic powers, but is knocked out before getting a chance. Dang it. What's worse is Xatu comes out and immediately goes back in. She didn't even get to do anything. I'll be honest here, guys, I don't really like the position they've put me in right now. The way I see it, my only chance at victory is to take out Walrein, which a pathetic Psychic will not do. But Glalie's explosion will. That was such a bad decision, Glacia, but I'm here for it. She still has a Celio, of course, but these guys love Hail so much, he's a non-issue, allowing Tate Liza to remain undefeated because I'm just so good. And, to a much lesser extent, Glacia was an idiot, but hey, that was a minor thing. Now it's on to Drake, where Claydol has learned a brand new move, Ice Beam. It and Sunstone outspeed Altaria, taking it right out as Shelgon is flinched. I'm expecting Kingdra to use Surf and want to weaken it with the Sun. Instead, he just Dragon Dances. Okay? He does that a few times, all the while Claydol hits with Earthquakes and the Stone Rock Slides. Kingdra does use Surf at one point, but with the Sun up, it's quite bad, and he's knocked out anyway. Flygon does some decent damage with Crunch, quickly succumbing to Ice Beam. I allow Sun to die, for Claydol to Ice Beam Salamence as well, followed up quickly by a Self-Destruct, doing less to Shelgon than I had thought. Just in case, I heal Moon, though it was unnecessary. Wow, these twins are rocking it. They're so in sync, it's like they're being played by a single person. My Wallace plan consists of mainly setting up the Sun to weaken water moves and allow Xatu and Sunstone to Solar Beam. After Tentacruel is Psychicked, of course. The only problem is, Xatu does not get to Solar Beam. Thanks, you squid. And after a Solar Beam from Sunstone, Wailord makes it rainy. Sunstone tries to get the Sun back, but Tentacruel does not let it. Well, this doesn't bode well. Moonstone gets revenge on Mr. Cruel, but now I have no way to remove the rain. I stall a bit with healing and cosmic powers, but it doesn't really work. Gyarados and Wailord are too strong, defeating my final two Pokemon, ending Tate and Liza's winning streak, right at the championship battle. They were so ridiculously close. The second attempt goes slightly better, but not all that much. On attempt 3, Tentacruel misses Hydro Pump, and more importantly, rather than Blizzard, like last time, Wailord uses Rain Dance. This means that Tentacruel does not see a KO for Xatu, opting to Hydro Pump again, and miss again. Well, that's lucky. Oh yeah, the Sun is back up now, by the way. A double Solar Beam defeats Wailord, as Xatu, and by extension Milotic, are poisoned. Another double beam fails to KO Milotic, resulting in a heal on my part, and Wallace too. I have no problem with Sunstone dying, but I want it to be on my terms first. Like how he clears the field, with the exception of Moonstone. With Claydol out and two Pokemon left, the only logical move is another explosion, after Lunatone heals to make sure he survives it. It's not a crit, thank goodness, as Ludicolo and Whiscash both succumb to the explosion. While it's upsetting how close we were to the end before whiting out, I'm still proud of how they did. Let's not celebrate too early though, not till Steven is defeated. We will start with Claydol and Moonstone. Moonstone boosts his defenses with Cosmic Power, as Claydol Ice Beams the other one. But with that light screen, I take an Ice Beam break, opting instead to Ancient Power, doing almost nothing to Skarmory, but getting an Omni Boost. Sweet. I try for another one, to no avail. Moonstone is still Cosmic Powering, and then Steven's Claydol gets the boost too. Hey, that was mine. He stole it. I heal Moonstone, curing a Toxic, and then they both start to Ice Beam Claydol. In 3 hits, that thing is gone. Skarmory is temporarily frozen, for like a second, doing me no good. I need to heal again, Claydol this time, knocking out Skarmory with some more ice. Aggron is promptly earthquaked, letting Moonstone get a free Ice Beam on Cradily. An Earthquake Beam combo defeats the plant before it gets a chance to do anything. As Metagross comes out, I heal Claydol again and begin to Earthquake. The first hit may not have been enough, but the second one is. Metagross is gone, and with 1 Psychic, so too is Armaldo, and Steven as well, marking the end of a very pleasant journey. Tate and Liza did really well, especially with the unpredictability of double battles, but having multiple Pokemon that can explode, wiping everyone else out, was certainly helpful. For the final gym leader, we have Juan. I know that Wallace is also a Hoenn Gym Leader, but since I'm doing Emerald, he'll have to wait till an Elite Four challenge run. Now for Juan, we have a really stacked team once they evolve. Not that it matters for Roxnne, water is just too good for her rocks. We've already seen that. Geo1 survives several Corphish bubbles thanks to a heal, and the fact that Bubble has 20 power, but it all works out okay. Geodude is also bubbled. Nosepass takes far less from the airy water, healing with a berry, and ultimately proving too strong for Corphish. Horsey's bubble is a tad stronger, winning the first gym in 2 more hits. Not that I was really concerned. For Brawly, I give Love Disc a chance to battle, since early game is when she's most useful. She Water Gun and Charms, lowering Machop's attack, who bulks up to counter it. In the end, she can't even defeat 1 Pokemon. Horsey picks up the slack, getting chopped a few times as well after Brawly heals. Meditite, as always, is a non-issue, though Makuhita Vital throws Horsey right out. Spheal tries to Powder Snow the Fat Sumo, hoping for a freeze that doesn't happen. Corphish's bubble and Vice Grips do very little, prompting a heal. Okay, we're all down to Whiscash now. He starts with a Tickle, countering a single Bulk Up, and then he Water Guns. With a lucky crit, he wins in 2 hits. I was afraid I might actually lose here. That would have been sad. And though Wattson's Electrics have a type advantage over most of my team, as anyone who's chosen Mudkip knows, all it takes is a single ground type to send him running home back to his mommy. And today is no different. Like taking candy from an electric baby, or something like that. Now you might think Flnnery would be equally easy. And you'd be right. Just in case, Whiscash does start with Water Sport, making fire moves even weaker. Then Numel and Slugma are both one-shot. Camerupt takes 2 hits, setting up the Sun in the process. With that Sun, Water Gun is quite weak against Torkoal, necessitating a heal at one point, though Whiscash still wins without any issues. Yeah, that's mostly what I expected. For Norman, since Spheal hasn't done anything this run so far, I give him a chance with Ice Ball, though it doesn't work out so well, as the all-powerful Spinda knocks him right out. Next is the other near-useless Mon, Love Disc, who also falls just like the Spheal before her. Okay, guess it's up to Whiscash again, like we haven't seen enough of him already. Now Spinda is easy, but thanks to several relatively weak magnitudes, including several 5s, a 6, and the occasional 7, I use both my healing items against Vigoroth here, and the middle sloth still comes out on top. That is not good. Horsey is able to pick him off, but stands no chance against Lanoon, even sans Belly Drum. When he inevitably falls, it's all up to Corphish. 2 turns later, he too is a goner, marking Juan's very first loss. On the next try, Love Disc starts off by paralyzing Spinda, and now I swap into Spheal. With a paralysis, surely Ice Ball will work now, right? And it does, knocking out Spinda on the 4th hit, meaning the next one would have been great if slacking weren't so darn fast. Which brings me to Corphish, my perfect slacking counter, which doesn't take much, to be honest. All you really need is Protect and Leer. He alternates between those for several turns before hitting with Return. It would be a 2-hit KO if it weren't for that berry. I get a bit cocky here, expecting a counter, and choose to not protect, which proved to be a mistake. Oh well. With no more defenses, almost anyone can take it out. This again brings us to Vigoroth v Whiscash. This time round, however, The ground fish keeps getting magnitude 7. It could certainly be better, sure, but as we saw last time, it could also be worse. Thanks to a berry, Whiscash wins without any other heals. Of course I swapped to Horsey to be headbutted by Lanoon, so I can now heal that fish safely. Which is good, because it's all up to him now. A magnitude 8, 4 with a crit, and another 7 finish off Lanoon and the normal type gym, which has proven to be the most difficult challenge thus far as Juan. And now that I've gotten Surf, a 90 base power water move that almost all of my guys immediately learned, things should be even better. This is also where Horsey evolves into Seadra, marking the first evolution of the run, and it only took 5 freaking badges. For Winona and her flyers, I decide to give Sfeel another chance. He starts with an ice ball, is mirror moved by Swablu, which is fine, but ultimately defeats the wannabe dragon. This baits out a solar beaming Tropius, who is also ice balled. Pelipper then ruins Sfeel's fun with a protect. What a jerk. Sfeel swaps to body slam and paralyzes right away. Okay, might as well try ice ball again. Even with a confusion, 5 consecutive ice balls hit, defeating the water bird. He then promptly falls to Skarmory. No matter, I bring out my ace, Seadra. A few surfs rust the steel bird, and Altaria is then ice beamed. Well, that wasn't so bad, and Sfeel actually got several KOs, just in time to evolve into a fatter seal. Seadra and Corfish also evolve here too. For the Tate Liza double battle, Kingdra starts with a rain dance as Crawdaunt taunts Xatu. This will prevent it from using Sunny Day or Calm Minding too much. And now, it's time to surf. Claydol is knocked right out thanks to a crit, while Xatu remains in good health thanks to the special defense boost. I heal Kingdra, which proves to be pointless as he is ganged up on with a double psychic. No fair. I guess I use Love Disc since she is a swift swimmer. Another double surf is still too weak for Xatu as both of their mons get healed, so I swap to using Return as Crawdaunt instead. The only problem is, Tate Liza pivot to Solrock who resists that normal move. Okay, and now that the rain is gone, the surfs are quite a bit weaker. Still strong enough to defeat the Celestials though. Crawdaunt and Love Disc return Xatu, winning, though only one of them survives that ordeal. Okay, with 7 earned badges, I head to the final gym and purposefully fall down a hole to battle these plethora of trainers. Why the heck are there so many? Crawdaunt, with his super high attack, gets me through most of these battles simply by hitting with Return, though I do have to be careful not to overlevel him. After countless battles, not because I couldn't count them, I'm just lazy, I go down a second slide and have 2 more trainers to defeat. Once they're gone, there is one final slide with 2 more final trainers. And with that, Juan has finally earned his place as the 8th gym leader once again. Before heading to the Elite Four, Celio evolves one more time to his final form, who I'm really excited to be able to use. And Crawdaunt learns Swords Dance, which I'm also excited for. He starts by rejecting Mighty N's Intimidate and Swords Dances, though he is sand attacked in the process. 2 Brick Breaks miss Cacturn, and Crawdaunt is flinched 2 for good measure. Well, looks like that sand is tougher than expected. I swap into Love Disc, expecting her to immediately fall, but since she doesn't, I take a turn to heal Crawdaunt. Wall Rain, then Ice Beams Cacturn. Absol follows suit after a Swords Dance. Hey, that's my move, and a Rock Slide combo. Shiftry tries, and fails to avoid the beam. Last is his Crawdaunt. Though this is perhaps risky, Wall Rain encores him into a Swords Dance. That way he can body slam. As long as I make sure to encore when it wears off, that Crawdaunt shouldn't be able to do anything, which is exactly what happens. Nice. For Phoebe, Crawdaunt may be a dark type, but the only dark moves he learns in Emerald is Knockoff, which really sucks. Instead, I lead with Kingdra to Rain Dance as Dusclops protects. Phoebe heals, which does nothing for her, allowing an Ice Beam and a Surf. I had hoped the rain boosted Surf would one-shot Bayonet. Turns out it didn't, but it's not a huge issue. Sableye is double surfed after a team, the second Bayonet is as well, and I heal for the final Dusclops. Kingdra Rain Dances, does some damage, but needs another heal. And he ends up getting frozen. Well, that's too bad. I'm out of heals now too. He just can't make it. 2 more surfs from Crawdaunt ends the ghost's life, if she had one. Since it did not work out well last time, now I'm determined for Crawdaunt to Swords Dance and then Brick Break his way through Glacia. The first 2 Celios pose no threat, though Glalie gets a freeze. Why are all of my Pokemon getting frozen all of a sudden? A heal clears that up, knocking out the ice. Walrein actually survives the hit, which I did not expect, as I heal a second time. Crawdaunt avoids a sheer cold, thankfully, Brick Breaking again. Last is Glalie, who doesn't freeze this time. I didn't expect to need both healing items there, but it all worked out okay. For Drake and his dragons, I obviously lead with Walrein, an incredible dragon killer. Shelgon is one-shot after protecting. Salamence gets a Rock Slide flinch, which is not great, but it's not enough to save him. I heal on Altaria, once again one-shotting with Ice Beam. For Kingdra, I'm expecting a Dragon Dance here and decide to Encore that move. This would have worked out great if Encore lasted more than just 2 turns. I was trying to get an Ice Ball going, and that paralysis is not helpful. Well, Walrein did well, but not as incredible as I had wanted. Lubdisk attempts to lower Kingdra's attack back down, but is not able to. With a super strong and fast dragon now on the loose, my best chance is to hope with Guillotine. I have it for just these situations. After a smokescreen, it connects, and a one-hit KO takes out the super overpowered dragon. I try to do the same with Flygon, who is having none of it. Okay, let's just Ice Beam his Kingdra for the knockout. This brings us to my old prodigy, Wallace, who has just copied my water-type style. Wailord and Walrein trade body slams and double edges back and forth until Wailord is paralyzed, at which point I swap to using Ice Ball. Sure, it's resisted, and it starts off quite weak, but it doubles in power every turn, knocking out the whale on the 4th hit. And, just as I had hoped, Ludicolo is baited out next, falling on the 5th hit. Sweet! He was the only real concerning Pokemon here. I swapped to Whiscash on a resisted Sludge Ball, though Tentacruel survives Earthquakes just barely. Whiscash does win after a heal, though with Toxic and Hydro Pump damage, well, he's quite damaged. I could heal, but choose a Hail Mary Fissure instead, which does not work. No matter, Walrein again makes a return to paralyze with Body Slam and begin an Ice Ball. This time around, it does not work as well. I end up using 2 of my heals here, and it still isn't enough. That was lame. Kingdra finishes it off and begins to Ice Beam Gyarados before getting Hyper Beamed in response. Not what I had hoped for, but I still have a Swords Dancing Crawdaunt. I could have started with him, but I wanted to see how far my other guys could go first. I heal against Milotic and defeat it in 2 simple returns, showing Wallace what a true Water-type trainer looks like, as I become the next champion. Last, and certainly least, I need to battle Steven. Walrein leads the charge, and this time I don't mess around with Ice Ball. 2 Surfs are plenty strong enough to defeat Skarmory. The same thing happens to Claydol too, after a few Earthquakes. Now Cradily is another matter entirely. I swap to Kingdra, who is not weak to Grass, and knows Ice Beam. Ingrain prevents it from being a 2-hit KO, of course, and Steven heals it several times. I heal as well, and though it's getting quite frustrating, Kingdra does eventually come out on top. Aggron is promptly surfed, and I take a turn to Rain Dance on Armaldo in preparation for his final Pokemon, Metagross. I didn't expect him to, not at this HP, but Kingdra survives an Earthquake, and, with that Rain boost, 2 Surfs knock out Metagross, who was not a challenge in the slightest. Well, that was a great ending. Juan did remarkably well in this video. It wasn't perfect or anything, but still a great showing for all of his water mons. Not that Luvdisc did much of anything. Before getting to the gym leader ranking, there is one last thing I need to do. Roxanne was the only gym leader who failed to become champion. So, let's give her one more shot, but this time with her full rematch team. I have a feeling this will be much more doable. To begin with, I first need to box one of my rocks, specifically a Golem. Now Geo1 as you all know, is my favorite of the Geos, so goodbye number 2, you are not quite good enough. But with these new Pokemon, 2 of whom are not weak to water, which is a major improvement, hopefully I can now defeat Juan. I still start with a Golem, but this one has to rely on Magnitude because I already used the Earthquake TM. Love Disc takes 2 hits to finally fall, and then Geo 1 is outsped by Celio. That's too bad. Steelix hits a pathetic Rock Throw, and that's all she's got. Aerodactyl's Ancient Power is much more, well, powerful. Without any Omni Boost though, she fails to defeat Crawdaunt. Omastar, one of my not weak to water rocks, begins with a Spike Cannon. If it hits 5 times, it's actually pretty powerful. 3 times, not so much. Let's lower the Crawdaunt's defenses a little bit with Leer. Heal, still not hit 5 with Spike Cannon. Heal a final time, and eventually knock it out. It just took a while. Whiscash falls in 2 Surfs, hitting a decently strong Earthquake. This brings us to Juan's final Pokemon, Kingdra, who easily picks off my star. Nosepass 2, after getting paralyzed and Rock Slid. Now I too have a single Mon, Kabutops, the other non-weak to water. She hits a return, before slashing, hoping for a crit that she gets. So Roxnne has finally defeated Juan. It only took the entire video. This doesn't really count, at least not in the same way as the other leaders, but I might as well keep it going and beat the rest of the game. Starting with Sydney, where Omastar leads the charge because she doesn't need physical attacks. Sydney tries to be all clever-like, swapping to Cacturn on a Surf. Little does he know, Star also has Ice Beam. Mightyena comes back out, but Star has been sand attacked just a bit too much, prompting a swap to Kabutops for a Brick Break. Shiftry is also broken, Double Team didn't help. Absol as well. Crawdaunt takes just a few hits, and that was super easy, Sydney. For Phoebe, I begin with Steelix to Sandstorm, since Dusclops will protect anyway. A single Iron Tail would be too weak to one-shot, necessitating a Screech first. It's proving to be quite difficult, what with Confusion and Protect, but Dusclops is eventually tail smacked. The second Dusclops does some damage with a super effective Earthquake, but Steelix's defense is second only to a tiny little turtle, so a little ground shake is not a concern. Bayonet then burns her. Nothing I could have done to prevent that, cutting her attack in half. Since she's doing such a goodish job, I heal her after a few Iron Tails, defeating Bayonet with the no longer burned, but out of PP, Iron Tail. She can still Screech Sableye though, letting Geo 1, who now does have Earthquake, knock it out. Bayonet 2.0 is then double quaked, no problem. What will be a problem though, is Glacia and her Ice/Water types. As a matter of fact, I lose the first attempt thanks to 2 unlucky, on my part anyway, Sheer Colds by Walrein. That's not cool. Or, it's too cool, I guess. But at this point, what's another Roxnne whiteout, you know? This time, Steelix starts off worse, failing to Iron Tail Celio properly, getting Ice Balled instead. This gives Arrow a chance to Omni Boost, or not. She defeats Glalie as well in 2 hits, still sans Omni Boost. The Blizzarding Celio prevents any future boosts as well. Alright Kabutops, finish off the little seal, bringing out the big one again. This time, however, Kabutops avoids the Sheer Cold and just keeps on brick breaking. It takes a few turns, but thanks to her lack of water-type weaknesses, it works out perfectly well. Finally, Glalie chooses to hail on her only turn, which was obviously a poor decision. Alright, that wasn't too shabby. For Drake, Geo 1 begins with Earthquakes. Shelgon takes 2 Quakes to fall, stalling with Protects, and hitting a critical Dragon Claw. I could have done without that crit, but regardless, Kingdra's Surf would have been too strong. Against Kabutops, Kingdra chooses to Dragon Dance a few times, and then just surfs anyway? Thanks for the easy knockout there, Drake. Flygon makes it not so easy though. Steelix sacrifices herself to Screech a single time, because this Flygon's Earthquakes are quite concerning. Arrow gets paralyzed by Dragon Breath, so I need to heal. Following a Fly, she is paralyzed again. Jeez man. Fly and Paralysis don't mix well, so the resisted Ancient Power seems like a better option. It wasn't, apparently, but Arrow hangs on with a single HP, defeating Drake's most concerning Pokemon. With it gone, Arrow rests easy in the knowledge that a single Omastar Ice Beam defeats Salamence, ending the Drake battle. Too bad it's time for another water one. I start with Kabutops to return Wailord. She's not weak to Water Spout or Blizzard, and her great attack makes her the obvious choice. This baits out an Earthquake in Gyarados that Aerodactyl easily defeats with a crit. Ludicolo is then Ancient Powered, I'm hoping for an Omni Boost here, and flown. She should barely survive Tentacruel's Hydro Pump, or not. That crit feels like payback or something. Omastar is my best hope here, but after a single hit, Wallace pivots to Whiscash. Dang it! To take him out, I need a sacrifice. Sorry, Steelix. I need this turn to heal. With her gone, Kabutops comes out with her secret weapon, Giga Drain. Her special attack isn't great, but the 4 times effective grass move is plenty strong, and the healing ain't so bad either. Tentacruel is returned, bringing us to Wallace's last Pokemon, his ace, Milotic. I'm feeling pretty good here, since I still have 4 Pokemon. Then again, Milotic knows Recover, and his Surf is quite strong. I end up healing, and try to survive another hit with Giga Drain Absorption, but to no avail. That's fine, I still have half my team left. Not that Nosepass does anything useful. Omastar tickles a couple of times because her attack isn't great. I then pivot to Geo1 in the off chance I get the opportunity to heal, which I don't. I think I tickled 1 time too many, since Omastar does not get a chance to attack, as Roxnne loses yet again, even with a fully stocked rematch team. The next attempt is similar, though this time Gyarados is not crit. He instead Dragon Dances, but that didn't help. Ludicolo avoids a crucial hit, almost knocking Arrow right out. Well, that was rude. Might as well Hyper Beam Tentacruel since we're so low on HP. That extra damage lets Kabutops return the squid before draining Whiscash. At near max health, Milotic uses Toxic instead of Surf, which was a mistake, as 3 returns, no Recover this time, defeats the final Hoenn Water Trainer. That was tough. I'm hoping that Steven is a lot easier. Nosepass begins by Thunderbolting the Steel Bird. She gets a paralysis that Steven immediately heals, and she just can't make it. Now I could heal her, but I want to save them for more useful mons. Sorry, Nosepass. Either way, she did enough for Omastar to surf the bird after a Toxic. Claydol is surfed, puts up Light Screen, and Hydro Pumped. Aggron avoids the pump, absorbing energy for Solar Beam. With his crappy special attack, Arrow easily takes the hit, immediately swapping into Geo1 on a Thunder. Geo1 Earthquakes, Aggron survives because of Reflect, and we swap around again. 1 more pivot, Aggron is finally Earthquaked properly. I take a turn to heal Omastar, and didn't expect to survive a Water Pulse. Okay, let's heal Arrow too, just in case. She Ancient Powers Armaldo, is Ancient in return, and powers 1 final time. She falls to Cradily as Steelix begins to Iron Tail. 2 hits is all it takes, and I'm really glad Steelix was not confused. She also Iron Tails Steven's final Metagross, but it did basically nothing. She falls, bringing out Kabutops. Her best option is to use a Water move, which aren't great, but they at least do something, until she too is defeated. This leaves it all up to Omastar 1 final time. She survives Earthquake with her pretty great defense, gets a crit surf, defeating Steven, and allowing Roxnne to, kind of, join her gym leader compatriots at the victory seat. It just took a bit longer than the rest. And real quick, as I've done in previous regions, let's compare how all the gym leaders did. In last place is obviously Roxnne. Her original team did well enough. I mean, she managed to get 7 badges, but simply couldn't get past Juan's water types, so she failed the challenge. Her rematch team run doesn't count. Next in line is Wattson, with a total of 12 attempts, which is actually more than Roxnne had, but since he never failed 5 times in a single battle like she did, he still technically completed the challenge. Still, I gave him far too much praise at the start. I thought he was going to do much better, and now I look like an idiot. Next up, with 8 attempts, we have a tie between Flnnery and Winona. The fact that Flnnery even succeeded with the vast amount of Hoenn water is a miracle in and of itself. At 6 attempts is Norman and his normals. Most of his losses came very early on, as Roxnne was simply too hard to handle, and without a slight bending of the rules, he might not have ever made it. But I stand by that decision. This brings us to the top 3. In 3rd place is Brawly with 4 attempts. His 2 losses to Tate and Liza seal his fate here. Still, for the second gym leader, he is ranked very highly. Second place, with only 3 attempts, are Tate and Liza. Now, I would argue that's mostly to do with everything being a double battle, and them having 3 exploding Pokemon, but hey, I'll take it. They're basically like Kanto's Koga, but on steroids. Finally, in first place, this is likely not a surprise, we have Juan. Having a team of 5 certainly didn't hurt, but what really helped was the incredible early game Whiscash. And then, after evolving, Kingdra, Crawdaunt, and Walrein were all fantastic. Luvdisc, not so much. So in the end, at least in the Hoenn region, the final gym leader was in fact the strongest, shortly followed by the second to last gym leader. But hey, Brawly broke that trend. At least, with one exception, they were all able to become the 8th gym leader. If you haven't already, be sure to watch the other Gym Leader Challenge videos I've already made. Thank you for watching to the end of this video, and a special thanks to my YouTube and Patreon members. Your support is really appreciated, I can't thank you enough. And as always, I'll see you in the next region.